Yes, hello, I am James Rowlands, and today it's WNR606. It's our New Japan catch up. I'm not alone, I have a pleasure to be joined by the entire WNR team. Up first by my side for every WWE and AEW show is, of course, the fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. How's it going, Jax?
Hello, hello. Yes, going well, thanks. It's been very New Japan heavy for me for the past few weeks. So I'm ready to get into this pod.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people know. I mean, we pulled the curtain back a little bit. Is obviously, I think we did, our last show was maybe about 3 weeks ago, and then I was like, okay, now we have to
Yes.
catch up with 3 months of Japanese wrestling in the next three
Yep.
weeks.
I mean, what people do have to realize about that is sadly some of because there's four of us, sometimes our schedules don't always align. So it's kind of ended up getting it this way because of that. But we're here now. We're here now. So, you know,
Yeah, we're gonna get it done. Yeah. Up
yeah, we'll
next,
get it done.
up next, our resident NXT expert and New Japan demigod, and of course AEW toxic fanhausen. Easy for me to say. It is Monty. How's it going, man?
I'm just gonna keep adding to that name, so you're gonna get harder and harder. By this time next year, we might have a couple of more nicknames. We'll figure it out. I'm excited to be back. You already know what it is. Monty G back again after talking about NXT the other day. That was fun. It's good to finally kind of get back in the swing of things. I think what was hit on earlier was perfect. We live in we got lives, unfortunately, y'all. I know that may not be what is best to keep this show going in a timely manner always, but things happen, things come up, things change. So just glad that we finally get to run through all this now and get back on track.
Yeah, without a doubt. And last but by no means least, but it is the World Cup. So I thought, and luckily, because we're recording this on a Monday, England are still in the World Cup, so I can still do this song as well. Because that was one of my panics during the
Oh
Mexico match
Lord.
last night. Yeah, I was like, it's going to be such a depressing pod if they don't, but they did. So here we go. Last but by no means least. Well, they thought it was all over, but it only just begun. The cup of Eastern promise in the land of the rising sun seemed a million miles away. And one thing's for sure, the talk begins of 66 because we haven't found a cure. Send an SOS, a country's in need. She's a man, she's got a plan. We found our Super G. A nation reunited and England come alive. Harry Kane is captain and Gina makes it five. We're on the ball. 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 Yes, it's James to Gay, Gay to O'Reilly, O'Reilly to Rice, Rice to Stones, Stones to Saka, Saka to Kane, Kane to Gina. It's a goal. Yes, it is. She's on the ball. It is Gina. How's it going?
Hey, I would get that hat trick too. So here I am.
I know. How's it going? It's been a while, hasn't it? We're back doing Japan.
Yeah, it seems really alien to be back doing New Japan. But I'm excited to catch up with it. And I look forward to learning more because I feel every time we do a New Japan pod, I feel like I learn more.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, we last left it with the New Japan Cup, of course, Callum Newman winning. We've got three events we're going to cover in full: Sakura Genesis, Dontaku, and Dominion. So let's get to it. We've got the road to Sakura Genesis, which was March 28th, which was your kind of standard tag team matchups on the card. One of the main ones was, of course, Unbound Company, which was Nagai, Robbie X, Ishimori, Shingo, and Suji defeating the United Empire, which was Zane J, Jacob Austin Young, Akira, Jake Lee, and Callum Newman. Suji congratulated Newman. He said he's different to the boy he faced in England. Shingo wants a title match versus the winner of Suji versus Newman. And the guy said his teammates have belts, or like Shingo, who's got a new wife, he has nothing. I do feel you, brother. I do feel you. April 2nd, Yo versus Doki. We had Shooter Umino and Tiger Mask defeating Kushida and Yasuda. Tiger Mask said his final match will be on July 7th. Takeshita defeated Matsumoto with Shota on commentary, and Takeshita took the fight right in front of him. Desperado Taichi and Yuri Amore defeated Great Bash Hill. House of Torture. defeated Bishamon, where Aaron Wolf and Oleg Bolton tagging along. House of Torture continued their attack afterwards. TMDK defeated Unbound Co. And then United Empire, Callum Newman, Jake Lee, Zane J defeated Nagai, Shingo, and Suji. In the Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships, Robbie X and Ishimori defeated United Empires, Akira and Jacob Osser Young, with Vegeta challenging Robbie and Ishimori, which was a great match. Jacob has stepped up, and Akira is a top junior. And then the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, which was Doki versus Yo. I mean, I love Yo. It's crazy to think he actually hasn't won a championship yet. And Monty, I'll get you into this quickly because I think we're going to talk about these guys a lot. But the thing is about Doki is he's kind of on a run of a lifetime right now, you know? And of course, it was Show and the rest of House of Torture who ruined this match. But again, it gave us a moment, and it asked more questions about me than you, is when Yo kissed Show and it was erotic and long. I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing about that is they have so much history. You know, like Yo and Sho are literally one of the greatest junior tag team champions in New Japan history. So anytime they interact, I know they've been on the opposite side of the spectrum for a long time now. At this point, those days are long gone. But to even see them do that was kind of, at this point, Yo does not surprise me. Every time I see them together, I just think about how wrong I was because Yo was like when they were together in Roppongi 3K, Yo would pop his chest. He always had more of a personality than Sho, but Sho had this. He still kind of has it. It's just not really the same. Like he had an amazing physique, and I just always thought that if one of them were going to be the one that just kind of shined and been like that one that the New Japan invested in, I thought it would have been, Sho, based off just the way he looked. But Yo, it just shows you sometimes it's about their personality and just sometimes it's about being able to just reach and go where others won't. And this is a great example of Yo is a perfect example of someone who I think have always just went above and beyond and went where others just wouldn't dare to do. So I can't really explain why the crease was so erotic. I don't know what they got up to when they were attacked. Even maybe Yo was trying to get some of that old show back and get him to remember the bond that they once had. But I don't know. Either way it go, I'm not mad at it. But I will say that the funny thing about the great I love about this match is that this was not too long after. Well, not after, but to me, watching this, I was still reeling from knowing that Evil wasn't going to be around, and the fact that this felt like a dedication to Evil. This match, and I guess Yo's logic was the only way he could beat the House of Torture was that you have the House of Torture, House of Torture. You have to be evil. So like it worked. It really went good. It went good a while, like you mentioned, until like the third referee bump or whatever. So. He did. He was doing a pretty good job in my opinion. But I agree with you. I think at this point, whether you like House of Torture or not, and you want to call this a reign of terror or whatever you want to call it when it comes to Doki, at this point, man, Doki was just on another level, and this run for him has been the longest standing and most impressive run he's been allowed to kind of have with the belt, whether it was because of injuries or whether it's because for a long time Doki wasn't ready yet. So in the same way that I love and I'm always enthralled whenever Yo is on my screen, I'm also just very, very proud of Doki because I watch him kind of come a long way, even though we know that it takes the whole entire House of Torture to survive title matches at this point. But yeah, again, I thought this was a really impressive match, and we will be revisiting this. But yeah, this match right here was really fun to me because again, it felt like a little tribute to Evil.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Doki retained after about 20 referee bumps. So, again, it's a standard stuff. He wanted Tanahashi to put the belt around his waist, but he refused. Tiger Master then challenged Doki instead, which is interesting. Backstage comments, well, Tai Chi made some great points. And Jaxie, I know you say if, you don't know much about New Japan, even though you've only watched it for 5 years and review it every couple of months. But he says it's a new dream to win a title in New Japan and then go abroad because people can leave and then just come back. And it sounds like a dig at a lot of the AEW guys, you know what I mean, who maybe come back after having an emotional goodbye.
Oh, what Taichi said that, did he?
Yeah, Taichi said he's been saying a lot of stuff backstage about certain wrestlers, coming back afterwards, so to speak, even in other companies.
Like saying it in a way where that like is meant to be a bad thing. Because I maybe just a overall wrestling fan, but there's nothing more heartwarming to me when like someone's going else somewhere else to try somewhere else, but they can always like make a comeback in if possible, to a much beloved, crowd, that would probably love to see a return. I don't think that there needs to be as much hostility as what companies do, but obviously this is a competitive sport, even when it comes to companies themselves. So, in my opinion, I don't think that there should be any problems with wrestlers coming and going from different companies. But I know that there has been a lot of discussion about this, not just even from Taichi, but Suji as well, and his thoughts on just how talent is represented. So I'm not going to discondone that. I can't understand where maybe some of them are coming from if they are hostile,
Yeah, yeah, without a doubt. We'll speak about
Also, got to
Suji Raw.
provide the context that in Japan for a long time you didn't do that. In Japan, you couldn't.
Right.
Most of the time, if you came up and you got became a star in New Japan, you had to stay there. And I mean, even
Mm.
within Japan, that's the reason why when Kenta went from Noah to New Japan for
It's
a long
only like
time,
recently that they've been, open to crossovers and doing a lot more, right?
right? And that's like a
Especially since like
post-pandemic thing,
lockdown. Yeah, during the
right?
pandemic, like New Japan definitely needed like more support. And I think that, opening themselves up to a more international audience by working with other promotions has not hindered them. I think is actually just, if anything, just helped enhance the talent that they do have.
Right.
But I don't
And
think
I don't
that
think
they need to turn their nose up at those that do think that going away to work in a different company might actually help enhance them you know
right. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing either. I'm just saying that from like Tai Chi's veteran perspective, I think
Mm.
the reason why he's is coming off so like, oh, well, I guess I could just leave and do whatever I want is because, like I said, we are kind of in an era where we got a lot of freelancers, we got a lot of people jumping from company to company. And I think that's just
Yeah.
completely different than the wrestling that he grew up the new
Yeah.
like Japanese wrestling he grew up in and been in for a long time. Like I said, for the
Yeah.
longest time, people stayed in their promotion for the longest time, and I don't think people
No,
understand.
that's
Like
true.
I don't care what you say,
But
James.
there wasn't
Like
but but
this still
also there
smoke
wasn't that
collar.
many but there also wasn't that many promotions at that time. So there's just a lot more opportunity at this point, and with that
Yeah.
comes a bit of curiosity on seeing other wrestlers like go to a different company and see how successful they can be elsewhere. Curiosity gets to you.
Don't forget
There
money.
we go.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about it because, again, that's an interesting part with crossovers and stuff like that. But there is something else, and we're just going to get onto it because Sakura Genesis, April 4th.
Hmm.
I was a little bit disappointed, really, because there was a lot of, again, mixed tags. We saw Yasuda and Kushida beating Nakahara and Matsumatsu. TMDK defeat Master Wato and Maccabi. Unbound Company beat the United Empire again. Jake Lee has gone full clown Joker with mask and makeup, I should point out. Toriano Yo,
Yeah.
Tiger Mask, and Aaron Wolf beat House for Torture. And the United Empire, Greater Khan, Hanari, and Will Ospreay beat El Desperado, Tai Chi, and Yura Mora. This is Will's first match back in Japan since that crazy cage match in February of 24. Ospreay got the win with a Stormbreaker on Tai Chi. Hanari and Khan kept the beating going after the bell, which confused Will a little bit. Now, Gina, couple of points. Osprey back in New Japan now, and I think when Taichi was kind of saying that as well, he's going, well, if Osprey, the way he left and then he's come back, does that then take away a spot from someone else who's been working hard in New Japan in his absence? But it's good to see Will back in New Japan.
Yeah, definitely. Will has his own fan base still there in New Japan, and I think that it really warms their hearts to see him come back. And I'm sure a lot of the other wrestlers were happy to see him come back and get the opportunity to work with him again. So I personally don't see it in that light of him taking that opportunity away, especially because he was still involved within a match that was still within the faction that he was a part of. So it kind of continues. his storyline there in a way that's keeping it open ended, I guess. I don't think it takes away from them.
Yeah. And the other thing as well, with Osprey being this match, did they sell more tickets? Do you know what I mean? And that's again, there's
Most
another thing
likely.
that, yeah,
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 they do have to think of, the money factor in this still, regardless as to who runs the promotions, they still know where the money is to be made, so
yeah.
we're not dumb to that aspect. But again, like I said, it makes sense because he was still involved with the same faction that he was involved with when he was there. It was nice to see him back, and again, he has his own fan base there, so.
But again, that's an interesting thing, Gina, wasn't it? That Will, the United Empire has changed since he's been away, and they are kind of like I said more heels and beating people up now, and Will's got to kind of deal with that.
Definitely. This is something we're going to talk a lot more about in detail tonight to see how this unfolds. Because again, now that Will has come back, whether it's full time or, part time, have been changes since he was last a part of the United Empire and part of New Japan within his faction, and he isn't the head honcho within that faction anymore. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic change, and it's going to be interesting to see how he reacts to it, especially because of his current journey in AEW right now and what he's been doing with the Death Riders. So we'll talk about this in much more detail as we go on, for sure.
Right now, never openweight six-man tag team championship. Yoshihashi, Hiroki Goto, and Oleg Bolton beat the House of Torture, Chase Owens, Takahashi, and Ren Narita to retain the belts. Thank fuck. Bolton wants Narita's never championship. The World Television Championship was online with Takeshita and Shota Umino going to a 15-minute time limit draw. As a result, Takeshita retains a title. I mean, we kind of knew they couldn't wrap it up in 15 minutes. And then a masked man in a suit was watching Chase Owens attacking Takeshita afterwards as well. I mean, Jesus Christ, Monty, this masked wrestler thing is taking over the world at this moment in time.
Man, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I guess it's not a hoodie, but at the same time, it's the same damn concept. So yeah, and then I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think back to like I don't remember growing up watching wrestling us having that many masked men conspiracies. I'm sure it happened every now and then. I don't remember as many. Like I swear, just in us doing this show together, James, in the last 5 or 6 years, I'm sure we've had over 5 to 10 masked or hooded men.
Yeah, Austin
So
Fury's been three of them, I think.
right, exactly. So I hope New Japan. I mean, I guess New Japan had to do it at some point because every other company, major organization, have tried it. So yeah. But the fact that it's Chase Owens doing the beating is just like, okay, oh well.
Yeah, I mean, that
Yeah, you
just shows
somebody got to
you.
put over Chase. Woo.
The IWGP Tag Team Championships, Knockout Brothers, Oscar and Yuta Ice beat TMDK, Rhea Oiwa, and Zack Sabre Jr. The majority of this match was about
Great
Oiwa and
match.
Ice. Was the one to put Yuta was the one to put Roy down in a great match. I hope they clash again in the G1. This was the fifth defense of their tag gold. Yuta cut a great promo about talking about how tough wrestlers are and a connection with the crowd. He mentioned raw emotion and he called out Bishamon, but Hanari and Akana arrived before them. They want the gold. Gotta got the mic. He wants to sample the pro wrestling high. He said they'll beat Akana and Hanari and then take down the champs. And I'll tell you something. I mean, Jaxie, even we can tell talent, and Ice is getting some big reactions. I know he's part of the tag team at the moment in Oscar, and I like tag teams as much as everybody. But he, like I said, that emotion he's got with the crowd is genuine.
Mm. I mean, like he's just got this laid back connection that I think that everyone can kind of relate to. That gives him like a bit of a comedic factor about him, even when he's, was part of a sort of heelish tag division. So I think that there's something that every time he is in a match, people are glued to watching him. They're entertained by him. And he's quite a character. He's quite a personality. Again, I'm only watching sort of like the main sort of pay-per-view shows that I can catch. But he is one that's caught my attention, and that is through his personality.
Yeah, without a doubt. And then the main event, IWGP Heavyweight Championship, Callum Newman versus Yota Tsuji. Before the match, they showed images of the former IWGP Heavyweight Champions. I'm sure they have done that before, but it's the first time I noticed it. I thought it was really good. Then United Empire suited and booted, made their way for the Prince with Will behind him, and I do like his song. Callum wanted Ospreay to stay ringside. Suji brought his smile. And as for the match, well, Newman took a six stomp to the outside. Red Shoes took a stomp. And Zane J offered Newman a steel chair, but Ospreay pleaded with Newman not to use it. Suji unleashed a Gene Blaster amid the kerfuffle while Jay and Ospreay loudly argued. Newman survived a Destroyer and a Gene Blaster. Suji's desperation cost him. Newman unsheathed Excalibur to puncture him to the mat. Marlow crashed by Suji, earned him a comeback, but Newman landed inches within a pinfall with his Prince's curse. And to the shock of everyone, Newman became the new champion with his make way finisher. Before I talk about the post match, just talk about the match because Gina, again, it's not often kind of New Japan surprised me because I think they're the most kind of like steady of the wrestling that I watched, so to speak. But I thought this was a real shock for Newman to get the win.
Yeah, definitely. Especially because Newman's quite young. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying because he's young he shouldn't be getting the belt. But one thing I've kind of learned about New Japan as I've started to watch it is it's the long game that you have to play to get the rewards, you know? And I don't know, I just thought this was a great upcoming showcase for Callum Newman to show that he can be up there in that title picture. But Suji would ultimately get this win. I was clearly shocked and mistaken because that didn't happen.
No, credit. I mean, credit to Newman, not only winning the New Japan Cup, but like I said, becoming the youngest IWGP champion of all time. After the match, Newman and Ospreay embraced. We got a masked man in a jacket assaulted Yota Tsuji and revealed himself to be Gabe Kidd with an AEW shirt. Shingo came to Tsuji's aid, but Kidd laid him out and then left with the global heavyweight title. Shingo rolled into the ring, humorously slid in and out of the ring until he snatched the microphone. He issued a challenge for the belt and left nursing his neck. Newman had the chance to celebrate, which he did by telling the crowd to kiss the crown, posing with newly acquired spoils. He in the United Empire posed to end the night. I mean, Monty, that's just what you want. Gabe Kidd to come back with an AEW shirt. But again, I think it was Newman, but they were telling other story during this as well.
Yeah, I was definitely, I want to say shocked by seeing Gabe. It was more so just like, okay, why are we doing this? I'm not really, again, not really opposed to Gabe because I do, like I mentioned when he was full time in New Japan. I do think he kind of exhibits, like, you could tell he was a guy who was brought up in their dojo system. Like, just everything about him is just kind of perfect for his role when he's there. But, like, again, once you leave and you go to New Japan, I mean, go to AEW, I kind of expect you to be gone. But so from like a mainstream, like just from a medium level, I was a little bit shocked, but at the same time, I was like, okay. I'm not, I do think it's kind of like that was like this kind of fast to be attacking. The man just lost his title, so it's like that was fast. But I did remember like if he did have like a rival of that on the and during that year that he complains about, giving everything he could to this to New Japan. He complains about he gave everything that he could to them over that year. That rival during that year was Suji. So like I definitely can see why he would choose Suji to be the person to kind of help. Maybe that's make the biggest impact. But again, it was really interesting, and again, I was just waiting to see what that meant. Like, because I still didn't necessarily know why we were doing that. But when it comes to Callum Newman in the match went again, pretty really good match. I thought the dynamics of even having Will out there and the drama of just like trying to make him do the right thing in a sense, which we all know. I don't know how much wrestling you guys have watched, but I don't know how much longer I don't know how much longer we're gonna be able to just keep trying to tell him to do the right thing, especially when these are the results of kind of doing it his way because he's still what low blow Suji there towards the end. But this match was really good. I think it capped off a really good cup performance for Newman. I didn't really, again, I was shocked because I didn't expect him to go away from Suji this fast in his first run with the world title. But at the same time, if you've really been paying attention, and I know, like James, you know it, we kind of talked about this as he was kind of growing into this snobbish and very, very egotistical character. He's been bubbling underneath the surface for a while now. Newman has. So usually they make a big splash, they win the New Japan Cup. I was definitely assuming this was gonna be more of a Zack Sabre Jr. type of thing, where you win the New Japan Cup and then but you just can't get over that hump and win the world title that soon. But they did it, and at the time I was of two minds. I was one mind, I was like, I felt bad for Suji because I kind of wanted him to run with it, but at the other time I was like, I'm not too mad at Newman being on top, because that also signifies something different and something fresh in a sense too. So it's like it always kind of depends on where we're going, in my opinion. So at this moment, I thought, okay, at the very least, this led to headlines. It led to people actually, oh, okay, wow, New Japan, because that's kind of how it goes. Because there's such a formulaic, in a sense, type of decision making base. When they do something that's different, you know, it really does, leaves a marker on you. So but you can't tell to me though, James, and I don't know about you. I don't know how you care. I know New Japan does this all the time with Shingo asking and I don't mind Shingo asking to be next, so to speak. I just think that when you have such a big momentous moment for somebody like Newman, all the Gabe Kidd stuff and all that, like that was very overbooked. Like I don't know why we do it. I don't know why we need to do that now. Like I'm not saying don't bring Gabe back. I'm not just trying to do this because it's Gabe. I'm just saying after a guy climbs the mountain and literally, cashes in on the big cup tournament you just had and become world champion, we shift the focus off of him, then have to wait for Shingo to gather himself because he got a cell getting beat up to get the shift the focus back to the world champion. But again, it was great imagery though. I love seeing the whole entire empire with Newman there. If I'm Zack Sabre Jr., I am kind of annoyed though because they made him wait a long time compared to Newman. So if I'm Zack, I'm like, what the hell was the difference with me? Like, why did I have to wait so many years to get over that mountain? And Newman just comes in, like the prodigy that he is supposed to be, and becomes a champion. But again, I was very optimistic leaving this show, so I couldn't really ask for more after that result because I thought the match was great and I was excited for Newman.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue about, like I said, an Englishman winning the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Great moment for him,
Of
if
course
it was
not.
a little bit overshadowed. Backstage comments, Jake Lee will see how things play out. Ishimori promises to take down Akira. Shingo will watch the main event closely. That was early in the night, obviously. What Doki thinks is law. He promises he will be Tiger Mask's final chapter. What fucking threw me, though, was Tiger Mask was the first to be junior champion in this incarnation.
Yep.
And what's the I just don't how it's just how old do you know what I mean? It's incredible.
Six
Like
times, six time
oh
junior
my word.
champion, man. Six-time junior champion, two-time tag junior champion. That's what I'm saying. New Japan is the only place where you just got walking, living legends in the twilight of career. Well, and if you don't know much about them, you don't have any clue about how big of a deal they were like a decade or so before. And if you go look up some of those late '90s, early 2000s Tiger match when he was in better shape, like he was him and Jushin Thunder Liger, man. They used to go and like.
Mm.
Obviously, we know about Liger because he was a little bit more famous in the States on the West. But as far as like being one of the best junior heavyweights ever, 31 years he talked about in his little interview. Like Tiger Mask is definitely deserves the legendary status. I know he's not the original most famous Sayama Tiger Mask, but his incarnation is just as legendary.
Without a doubt. Tai Chi says Will outranks him, but he doesn't like outsiders cashing checks. And he wonders if he's useless to management. Oh, calm down, Tai Chi. You'll be all right. You're
So my Mopey King, I love Tachi so much. He's so sad.
Uemura said it's all about New Japan and Will is an outsider. As for Will, he said he loves this arena and 6 years ago he created the United Empire. He wants the trios titles. Hinari must be confused as shit as well. Does he know Will's joined AEW? That's my only question. They want the tag titles as well. Yoshihashi wants 10 title defenses and Bolton wants 3 belts. Shota says that it's not a draw. He lost but wants to do it again. Takeshita is upset he couldn't win, but he says Umino is tough. And Zach is upset, but Oiwa is devastated. Zach is such a great dad, putting the arm around the shoulder of Oiwa. Oscar said Bisherman are scared. Ice is thinking money. Gabe continued his assault on Suji. He's got passion in his bollocks. He's AW through and through and declaring war on New Japan. He said everyone left, not just him. He said he's taken the global title to America. I mean, Jaxie, it's quite a strong statement, Gabe, because I don't know if you remember Gabe saying how much he loved New Japan and fuck AEW, and now he's saying he loves AEW and fuck New
Oh, I
Japan. You
remember
know,
that.
like
No, I remember that. You know, listen, the one thing I think that everyone has already learned about Gabe Kidd is that he's all in the moment. He's all about the moment. So whichever company that is with, like he is just 100% in with that company. But that doesn't mean it's always going to be that way. You know, he's like the best way that I can just describe Gabe Kidd is just unhinged. And you just never know where his mind is tracking. So yeah, this is his decision now. It's instead of like fuck AEW, it's now fuck New Japan. For some reason, he's just very angry, very angry.
he's very angry. Yeah. Right now, Suji said he's had better days. Newman celebrated with beer in the Empire. Who's going to question him now? He asked. Well, no one. And Will's got trouble at work, and he asked for help. And you can now find out. We can add that to the AEW show that we talked about 3 months ago. So there you go, connections. Over in Stardom on April 17th, Alex Windsor defended a strong women's title against Saya Ida in quite a good match. And then Dontaku, Road to April 19th, Uemura, Taichi, and Yasuda defeated Taguchi, Yo, and Nakahara. Taguchi and Yo may be my favorite combination right now. I don't know why it works so well, but it just does. And Taichi taking his trousers off is always a bonus. House of Torture defeated Umino, Makabe, Honma, and Master Wato. United Empire, Hanari Greater Khan, Jacob Osser Young defeated the Goto Revolutionary Army. Khan and Hanari choked out Bisherman afterwards. Botan Oleg, Aaron Wolf, and Toriyano defeated the House of Torture. And then Unbound Co. Shinga, Suji, Gedo, and Nagai defeated Newman, Lee, Akira, and Jay. And Newman and Shingo kept fighting. And then we found out that Gabe Kidd was injured. Oh, no, what can we do? And it is Andrade El Idolo that took Gabe's place to challenge Yuta Tsuji for the Global Heavyweight Championship. So, I mean, Gene, it's a bit of a shame that, of course, Gabe missed this match, but Andrade taking his place. I mean, some could argue that's not a bad swap.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think if you watch AEW, you probably would have heard about this injury as well, about Gabe Kidd. But yeah, it's unfortunate for him for sure. But again, I wasn't mad at this replacement. I thought it was a nice change up to have Andrade replace him. I wasn't mad at it.
No, I thought it was quite a good move as well. Elsewhere on the card, we saw Oscar Robbie X beating Hartley Jackson and Fujita, and then Oiwa and Robbie Eagles defeated Yoto Ice and Taji Ishimori. April 20th, Jacob Osser Young defeated Nakahara. Yamura Taichi and Yasuda defeated Taguchi, Master and Matsumoto. House of Torture defeated Umino, Makabe, Honma, and Yo. United Empire, Jake Lee, and Akira defeated Unbound Co., which was Suji and Gedo. And Suji wore a clown mask for a little bit. I don't know why, but maybe he's just messing about. Oleg, Wolf, Yano defeated House of Torture. Narita used a chair on the ring post to hurt Oleg's arm even more afterwards, going towards their matchup. Shingo defeated Zane J. Shingo used Newman's finisher to get the win, and Callum Newman defeated Nagai. Shingo came down to watch his young boy. Monty, I really like both of these matches, and I would argue they should maybe do more of this than tag matches because, of course, Newman and Shingo faced the respective young boys of the other.
Yeah, I think again, it's very creative. I think that's one thing about it, and I'm not going to take a shot. I'm not taking a shot at AEW because I do think AEW at this point is probably the best wrestling, but I don't think we get enough consistently of that type of stuff in a lot, and not even just AEW. Yeah, WWE for a second there. I don't know about now, but they definitely had a lot of factions going on And like both companies have done it. And I don't think we get, like you said, I don't think we use the factions creatively enough. Like a lot of times it just end up being generic tags or whatever, whatever. But this was a very creative way to kind of use the, and I do think New Japan, because they have faction year round and basically for the last decade plus, for everybody's been factioned up. They have a lot of experience in utilizing the factions, like we talked about in the past when you do the faction versus faction battle royal from time to time, and just like again, they're very creative in my opinion with involving. Even if the main feud is involving like maybe the two leaders or two members of a faction, they do a really good job of kind of interloping the rest of the team faction and making again making it important. Like you said, it's also valuable experience because you got world champion and world champion contender going against, like you said, the young boys of those respective factions, and they get a chance to be in there with people that you wouldn't necessarily consider on their caliber. So again, it's just again creative booking in my opinion in general. It's a very fun way to mix things up.
Yeah, without a doubt. Ishimori, Robbie X, and UIS with Oscar defeated TMDK. And then the IWGP Tag Team titles, number one contendership match, Bishamon defeated the United Empire, Hinari, and Greater Khan. And Jackson, we've mentioned the tag division has been on fire recently. But again, I mean, Bishamon, who have been our tag team of the year, going against the potential match coming up, obviously, against the Knockout Brothers. But even Hinari and Greater Khan are quite a good team.
Yeah, they've been like definitely dominating a lot more in terms of United Empire. I mean, but you can't deny that Bishamon really are just kind of teaching these young boys, you're gonna learn today. Because some of their matches, it just shows they have not, stepped out of touch, and nine times out of ten, they are the ones coming out on top. They are by far one of my favorite, probably if not my favorite, New Japan Wrestling tag team in Bishamon. So it's kind of been exciting even just to see the likes of like Yuto, Ice, and Oscar, and how well connected they are within the tag division as well. You can see some real genuine tag teams that are building quite nicely and strongly within the tag division of New Japan, building it up and building that strength where there probably was a bit of a loss.
Yeah, without a doubt. Backstage comments, Taichi was upset he wasn't picked by Suji. Shingo gave credit to Zane J, but Newman was not that impressed with Nagai. And then April 24th, another Road to show. Taguchi Yoshida defeated Makabe and Honma. United Empire, Hinari Great Khan and Jacob Oscar Young defeated the Goto Revolutionary Army. Umino, Tiger Mask, Yo, Masawato, and Toriyano faced the House of Torture, Chase Owens, Doki Show, Kanemaru, and Dick Togo, and that went to a draw. TMDK defeated Unbound Co, which was Ishimori, Robbie X, Suji, and Gedo. And another Unbound Co grouping of Shingo, Urias, Oscar, and Nagai defeated Callum Newman, Jake Lee, Akira, and Zane J. Yuri Amore, Bolton Oleg, and Aaron Wolf defeated House of Torture. And you look like a true star. And again, weird comments. And we talked about Jake Lee, right, who actually had a great interaction with a little girl. And Gene, I don't want to get too deep here, but Jake Lee said, "Mask allow us to be free and show us the personality we want by not being seen by the outside world." Deep, isn't it?
It is kind of deep, but you're probably asking the worst person here because I grew up fearing clowns. So I'm okay now. I've kind of gotten over it, but I still feel a little bit uncomfortable with like certain clown presence, you know. So uh, I get the expression, but I also can understand if people find it creepy and can respect it.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yuya's first watch a wrestling match in the same place he was wrestling in his hometown. His dream is not to be a pro wrestler, but the light for the New Japan and be the best ever. He said the friend who took him to the show was there today to watch him. He saw neighbours and friends as well. Which, again, Monty, sometimes New Japan do something like this, which is really nice, especially for you. And again, at least he hasn't got big aspirations.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Again, it's hard to fall. It's hard to look down on yourself when you're reaching as high as he is he trying to reach. You know what I'm saying? So, I give him that. Like, if he falls short, he still might be the second greatest wrestler of all time. So that's a pretty good, pretty good goals to have, if you ask me. But yeah, I mean, I think that's another thing that's underrated about New Japan. I mean, I know it's not always helped. First of all, because the United States is just huge, but second of all, it's just not really ever been that important. Especially, I can specifically speak for WWE. I think AEW does it a little bit better, but they're also young. And like I said, the stakes is pretty big. So you got a lot of people saying, well, like for example, Darby will be whenever they in remotely in close to Seattle, they in Darby Allen land, even though if you look at where they are, they like 3 hours from where Darby is actually from. But that's just kind of how the USA is. But in New Japan, you literally have a lot of these people touring in these arenas, these same arenas where they were watching some of the greats, who was in New Japan in the past, come to their town, and like these perfections and these fixtures can be like I said at one time where Tai Chi was in his hometown wrestling the show and took a train literally back home right after
Yeah.
the thing. Is like they literally can do that, and I think sometimes we don't get that a lot. That's another unique thing that's kind of unique to New Japan, to where they can literally be around the block from their home or their childhood home, and and like seeing people they grew up with, watching them wrestle now. So it's really really cool when you get that little bit of insight into a performer, but it's also just again something in my opinion outside of the format that just makes New Japan very unique.
Yeah, without a doubt. We move on to New Japan's Wrestling Red Zone on April 25th. There was two tag team title matches on the night. Matsumoto defeated Nakahara on the pre-show. Masato Yo, Toyano, and Shota Umino defeated House of Torture. United Empire defeated Yasuda, Taguchi, and Tai Chi. Maccabi, Tiger Mask, Aaron Wolf, and Bolton beat some of House of Torture. Well, it's a no contest, but we know the real winners there. To make matters worse, the Doki stole Tiger Mask's mask. What a
Yep.
bastard. And Tiger Mask wants a lumberjack match. And his tune is a banger as well. There is something about 80s or, you know what I mean? Late 80s wrestling theme,
Yeah.
especially in New Japan. It is. Once you hear it, it really is an earworm. TMDK defeated Honma and Uemura. United Empire defeated Unbound Company. And in the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championship, Ichiban Street Boys defeated Robbie X and Taji Ishimori. We got new champions in a great match. Eagles made Ishimori tap out. Ichiban Street Boys are now 3-time champions. Now, Jax, I know the junior tag team maybe not something you keep an eye on all the time, but Ichiban Street Boys have kind of been on top now, you would say, for the past couple of
Mm,
years. They won last year, didn't they, at Wrestle
they
Kingdom?
did. I think I
Uh,
actually went with them to win last year as well. So yeah, I actually have no doubt that they wouldn't have been able to have picked up this win as well. They've already shown, kind of how consistent they are as a tag team. And again, this just goes back to what I said earlier about there just being, quite a nice pool of strong tag teams within the division now.
Yeah, down speaking of the tag team division, the IWGP titles on the line. Knockout Brothers defeated Bishamon in another great match, another title defense, and another main event. Like I said, the tag team division has never been brighter. I mean, Gina, again, it's just with sport at the moment because everybody else hates tag team wrestling. So to actually see a good tag team match like Knockout Brothers and Bishamon, you kind of a little bit surprised that they're allowed to actually have a good match. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, definitely. But that's the thing. I can't lie in saying, Bishamon definitely helped make that match as great as it was. And again, that's because they're a solidified team that have been together for numerous years. And they just have that presence where they're going to bring out the best of other tag teams. So yeah, I'm not surprised.
without a doubt. Backstage comment, Shingo says, at 23, what has Callum got to lose? Robbie X says he's one of the best juniors in the world. Robbie Eagles was over the moon at winning, and he called out the Motor City Machine Guns, who we've not heard anything about that since. April 26th, I didn't realise it was just Japanese commentary until the second match. So I don't know if that meant that I've learnt Japanese or I'm just not really paying attention. Nagai defeated Nakahara, Knockout Brothers defeated Yanu and Maccabi. House of Torture defeated Yo, Honma, and Umino. United Empire defeated Matsumoto Yoshihashi and Hiroki Goto. TMDK defeated Yasuda Taguchi, Taichi, Uemura, Masawaru, Tiger Mask, Aaron Wolf, and Bolton. Versus the House of Torture was again another no contest. An Unbound Company with Yota Tsuji, Shingo, Ishimori, and Robbie X defeated the United Empire, Zane J, Akira Jake Lee, and Callum Newman. Also on April 26th, we had All-Star Grand Queendom. Megan Bain lost to IWGP champ Siru, but Monty, I don't know if you saw this, but I was so surprised by Megan Bain because she looked excellent. And I don't go to Stardom often, but I saw this match and I was like, is that actually Megan Bain?
And I'm not, and again, and often you don't hear this for somebody like, because like AEW, but so far in her AEW run, they really, I don't want to say put the shackles on her, but I think it's because she's in like a big towering tag team. Her style is just completely different. But like towards the end of her Stardom run, when she was just a Stardom wrestler, she really improved, and you got a chance to see a little bit of that. I mean, to be fair to Sayuri, who's like literally just one of the greatest wrestlers in the world, bar none. Like whether it's Japan or outside of it, I can put her in the ring with any of your favorite women's wrestlers, and I promise you, Sayuri, with just her high impact and like striking style, I'm pretty sure she can have a good match with anyone. But like I'm not trying to downplay Megan. I'm just pointing out that's just how good Sayuri is. But
Mm-hmm.
again, Megan Bang got a chance to show a lot of what she done has started to show towards the end of her run, her original run of Stardom before she signed to AEW. And I just think if AEW smart, the future should be bright, in my opinion, for somebody like Megan Bang to be able to showcase more of that. Because, like, I agree 100%. I think she was explosive. I thought she was motivated. But to be fair, she always, it's kind of like Mariah in Japan. Not to say that Mariah didn't wrestle her ass off in AEW or NXT, because I do think she did really good. But I just think that Stardom, man, it's just something different about that style. There's something different about giving two ladies 20 to 25 minutes to just go and beat the hell out of each other. And like I think again, you kind of can see what it looked like with the reins are kind of pulled off. Because I think to a degree, again, maybe it's because she's in a tag team and like you just can't do as much in a tag team. But like, yeah, I think AEW so far has kind of showcased her with the handcuffs on. And I think hopefully they'll give her a chance to show a little bit of what she showed in there because she was really good.
Yeah, I mean, again, yeah, I thought she was more kind of like Izzy Dame type, but after seeing that match, it's like, yeah, there's potential.
Oh
But
yeah, no.
But then again, like you said, it is Stardom does bring out the best in people. April 29th, and we had the New Japan Wrestling Hizan no Kuni event. The headlining bout the night saw Tiger Mask challenge Doki for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. Hontai backed Tiger Mask to help him fight off the evil House of Torture, but in the end, Oki's faction continued to get involved and help him remain champion. This was 16 years since he last fought for the junior title. There was so much House of Torture interference, but again, Monty, it's still nice to see. I mean, Doki, like we talk about on this legendary run, and even putting Tiger Mask down like this, even with the interference and Tiger Mask last year, I still think it's a good story to be featured here.
Agreed. And I just think it's really cool. Once again, like I said, nobody really does this, in my opinion, like New Japan when it comes to people like matches. But again, uh, like you said, I thought this was okay. Was it the greatest thing? No, but I do think asking Tiger Match to kind of go out there and give you main event quality at this stage of his career, or give you something amazing, is probably asking a little too much. It's kind of the reason why this is one of his last matches. But I think again, this is really good. The storytelling, while you may not appreciate all of the ins and outs, I thought this was the greatest wrestling ever. I do think the story of it all and just kind of watching. New Japan does. I don't think I don't, because kind of you saw it in Tanahashi's retirement match, and I know it's not technically the last match. That will be, I guess, what coming up like tomorrow or tonight, I guess, for me
Oh,
or
fucking hell,
something.
yeah.
But right, yeah, it's literally the seventh is coming up. I
I'm
just
still two
noticed
months
it.
behind, yeah.
Right, right. So he's not quite done in what we're talking about. But no one does that kind of fight, going out, dying on your sword type of storytelling for older wrestlers like New Japan and just Japanese wrestling in general. Because I think Keiji Muto or the Great Muta in his match with Shinsuke, that was excellent because it was kind of like an old gun going out, giving all he got. And I think that's what this match still showcased. Although, again, Tiger Mask is nowhere near what he was, but I think, like you said, watching him have to fight against all those odds is something still compelling about that when you're looking at somebody towards the end of their career. And like I said, nobody does it like New Japan in that regard to me when it comes to like farewells and all that and farewell shows and tours. You tell me a promotion better. Like I promise you, if John Cena was a New Japan wrestler, we wouldn't have had any problems with his tour. I guarantee it.
Without a doubt. Also on the card, United Empire, Zayn Jay, Akira, Jake Lee, and Callum Newman defeated Unbound Company, Robbie X, Ishimori, Yotsuji, and Shingo, with Newman laying out Shingo afterwards. Backstage comments. Show paid tribute to Tiger Mask, saying he was friendly to him when he was young, but didn't play catch. Well, you just fucking get over playing catch now, all right? Vegeta was pissed with Master Watto. I didn't know really what he meant, but if you go see what Master Watto says after most matches, it is basically the same thing. So again, I can maybe understand the frustrations. And Doki says that he does want to be in the best of Super Juniors. So we move on May 3rd, and it is Dontaku, and we had two nights. Great. We had Master Wato Yo Toriano defeating Nakahara, Taguchi, and Tiger Mask. Knockout Brothers defeated Yasuda and Honma. Honma's tag team quest continues. He wants to win the tag team titles somehow, and he's trying to find a partner, which is quite funny. Mystico, El Desperado, Taichi, Uemura defeated TMDK. Mystico and Despi challenged the tag champs afterwards, and the match was made for night 2 with the titles on the line. If it goes wrong, we can just blame Robbie Eagles. And the United Empire, Great Khan Hanami and Will Ospreay defeated Masamoto Yoshihashi and Hiroku Goto. The finish was incredible, both in the execution and in the consequences. We saw Great Khan bounce Masamoto's head off the mat multiple times. It was a sick-looking finish, tapping into the guttural violence that we talk about, and Ospreay's reaction was perfect and grounded in reality, and he was horrified and questioning whether it was necessary. But again, this is the problem, Jaxie, as we mentioned. Will's gone back to a different United Empire, and they are more vicious now, aren't they,
It's kind of like a self-reflection of what he's kind of going through with AEW, in my opinion. In terms of, like United Empire have grown into this more aggressive heel type faction, like really just kind of like taking dominance for themselves, thinking highly of themselves and thinking that they deserve better, they know better, they're doing better, and Will either has to conform to it and join it, or he needs to break away from it. I mean, especially with him like constantly teaming up in New Japan at the moment, and not just outside of AEW, just inside of AEW sort of performances when they come over. Like, it's kind of interesting because of obviously this turmoil he's got with the Death Riders then, and for a long time the Death Riders have been a heel faction, but as of late, they're even questionable as to whether or not they could be really considered heel, even though they use heelish tactics, so yeah, I feel like Will's getting it from both sides.
But I do think they need to sort that out, a little bit of understanding, because like I said, Will's part of the United Empire in Japan and the Death Riders in AEW. Gabe's part of the Death Riders in New Japan, but just part of the Dogs in AEW. And Andrade is part of the Don Callis family and the United Empire.
oh yeah, like honestly, that also confused me when I was like, trying to do all this catching up and realize that Andrade was part of United Empire as well. I was like, since when? And this isn't acknowledged between either man on AEW. So is that just a stuck in New Japan thing? It's very confusing. So they do need to kind of tidy a lot of that sort of thing up when it comes to allegiances and factions. But I suppose the biggest question is, in AEW, will have full allegiance to Death Riders, and I suppose in terms of New Japan, the question here is, does Will have full allegiance to the United Empire?
Yeah, without a doubt. Shota Umino and Takeshita defeated Takahashi and Chase Owens. Someone stole Takahashi's belt backstage, Takeshita's belt backstage. Chase said it wasn't him. And Umino seems to be falling for Takeshita as well. I don't know what that's about. Unbound Company, Nagai, Robbie X, Ishimori, Driller, and Shingo defeated United Empire, Zane J, Jacob Oscar Young, Akira, Jake Lee, and Callum Newman. We then saw Aaron Wolf beat Don Farley. I mean, to its credit, the build to the body slam was nice, and the angle slam did look all right. We need to see if he can sink or swim with better opponents. I don't know. But again, Gene, I don't know if you saw that. I mean, Don Farley really shouldn't be wrestling. Do you know what I mean? But again, he took a couple of bumps, and I guess he's happy with that.
Yeah, I think every time me and Jack see Don Farley is coming out, we're always in awe at how he's still wrestling at this point, because it looks like he struggles to walk, so it's like, how are you actually still even in a wrestling capacity? But yeah, if he's happy to still take a few bumps, we know that there are a lot of stubborn wrestlers out there who still want to think they've got it. So yeah, we'll give Don Farley his dues for keeping up his stamina to go, but those knees are going to give out at some point.
They are. They really are. Never Openweight Championship, Ren Narita defeated Oleg Bolton. Oleg's elbow has been troubling him. Narita, the champion, obviously focused on this the majority of the match. Ref bump Bolton dispatch of House of Torture, so he fought, but Oleg made Ren tap with a torture rack. Show stopped the ref, only to be carried away by Wolf. Narita used the ropes to escape and used Kanemaru to hit a low blow to retain with the submission. Wolf got the mic and he wants the Never title back. But I mean, Monty, again, I might be saying this, but I'd rather have maybe Bolton going on a little rage rather than Aaron Wolf. But I can see kind of, where they're going with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think Bolton probably deserves a little bit more of that push, but at the same time, I'm not again. It's logical that I mean we know what kind of happened to Wolf, so it's logical in my opinion that he would want it. But I don't know again when maybe I'm early or late, but I don't know if this was around the time. But I had heard Oleg was hurt, so that was my logic too. I thought that outside of of course him wrestling through something, I thought he literally was hurt. And I thought that's the reason why they kind of halted the brakes on that. Again, don't know how true all that was because they wrestle through injuries so much in New Japan. You never know. But this match was what it was. It's okay. Typical stuff in a lot of ways. If you were invested in Oleg and you thought Oleg was going to kind of overcome the numbers, then again, I do think the formula can work. We've seen it work. But at the same time, like you mentioned, well, coming from here, how invested are we in Wolf chasing the belt instead of, getting Oleg back in the situation? It's a very interesting conundrum, in my opinion. But I do think Wolf, again, whether I see a lot in him so far or not, Wolf has the crowd and still has a little bit of popularity. But I've never seen someone who came in with like so much steam, in my opinion, who probably could have been. I'm not trying to compare him to Obafemi, but he could have been very dominant like a Obafemi coming into his run, but then they kind of ruined that already by letting him lose, and then he just felt like he kind of lost whatever original aura that he kind of had from his legitimacy. But we'll see. I think over time, and I think with more, like you said, more experience with quality opponents, maybe he can get that credibility that he kind of had back.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. We then got the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship, Andrade El Idolo versus Joe Suji. Andrade sold his violent frustrations well. There were big, brutal knees and great slaps consistently sprinkled throughout the match, and a highlight reel make it seem like an adrenaline rush. And there was a mid-air gene blast that had me sitting up, and a hurricanrana from the apron was absolutely sickening. And after 30 minutes of action, we saw Andrade and Suji on the ring ropes. Andrade DDT the champion headfirst onto the ring post.
First.
And the momentum sent Andrade off the ropes and onto the floor. Andrade made his way back to the ring, hit Suji with his finisher to capture the championship. Afterwards, he stated AEW New Japan are in his blood. He then asked who wants to step up to him, and out come Driller Maloney. Maloney was then followed by Umino. Andrade suggested a triple threat match and said, tell him where and what time, and he will be there. Wow. I mean, that is a bit of a surprise. You know, I mean, Jaxie, did we expect Andrade to win the championship off Suji kind of even as a replacement, it seems, you know?
Not me. Absolutely not. This came as a complete shock. You know, that's not to like take away from, you know, Andrade's talent, but did I see Yuta Tsuji dropping the belt here? Absolutely not. Again, Andrade was like sort of a replacement as well at this point for Gabe. So no way did I think he'd go all the way. You know, absolute respect to him, but this came as a complete shock.
Yeah, it really, really was. And it was even shocking Suji lost his last two big title matches as well. You know, so
Yeah, it's like, you know, you're losing your touch here, Suji, and you wanted to go on X and chat a little certain to people, but then here you go losing matches. Maybe you should have kept your mouth shut. You might have kept your title. Just saying.
it's true. And again, with Andrade, because this is like the motivated Andrade of, you know, like I said, of 2026 now. But it's still weird to think how much history Andrade's got, because he did win the Intercontinental Championship, which is the precursor to the Global Championship before, when he beat Shinsuke Nakamura in New Japan. So he has got history, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm kind of glad that he's able to actually do something and, you know, feel like he's building some significance in not I think Andrade's been one of those wrestlers that has jumped in between companies, really just trying to find his footing. So I felt like this was really good for him, and not just in a way of looking at it like out of pity. No, this is like something, you know, that he probably deserves because he puts on decent matches when actually given the time. So yeah, I was actually excited to see sort of both Shota and Drilla looking to kind of come out and make a viable approach for a shot, you know?
Yeah, because with Driller, it's like, oh, you're still here, right? Yeah, we heard you, States. You know what I mean?
Well,
But
yeah,
now,
I mean, like I feel like New Japan like kind of were hot on Drilla at one point, and then that died down. Any idea why, Monty? Because like at one point I thought that he was kind of like going to be sort of the one that they did put a bit more shine on, but it feels like things have quietened with him, or has he just been off and I've just not known this?
No, he been wrestling. They're just too busy trying to call Gabe back, I guess. I don't know. I don't, I don't know. No. I mean, I don't know if they were how much did when they re-signed him back. I don't know how much of their plan. They may have been so because of everybody else in his group pretty much left. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't expect him to sign back and they just didn't. They don't know what to do with him. They didn't know what to do with him. Like I can't believe. Hey, damn, he stayed. Oh, so I guess we need to come up with a plan.
They're
Like
like,
that's
oh
what
shit, what do we do?
that's what I feel like. That's how they booked him in a sense, if you ask me, to the
It
point to
kind of
where
feels like that. It actually does kind of feel like that, like they had no direction with him when
yeah, they
booking.
don't really know. Like
Yeah,
they've had so many people leave, and the whole entire Unbound thing, in a sense, kind of feels because it's remnants of LIJ, remnants of the Bullet Club, you know what I mean? So it's like
yeah,
all of that kind of feels like they didn't know what to do. So they was just like, all right, well, Driller, you're still here. Let's just plug you into these tag matches because we know you can do that. But so I don't know. Hopefully
yeah.
that changes. That changed. But yeah, so far during this, him resigning, I don't think they've had a plan for him.
No, and I had expected him to kind of go more on a singles run after him re-signing, but I was a little bit shocked to see just how much of a sort of like a tag team wrestler he still was at this point. I thought that again, as you said, with so many people that had left, there was a lot more room for um, more singles talent to kind of come up. And Driller was in that, like, you know, kind of vulnerable position where most of his group had left or were injured. So why not go for that push straight away? So, well, hopefully we'll see. Maybe he'll get a bit more of a push in G1.
yeah, we'll see what happens. Backstage comments for the event. Taguchi was beeped more than I've ever seen for any Japanese wrestler. I have no idea what Taguchi was saying, but it was just beep, beep, beep. Takeshi doesn't know where his belt is. Driller made a great point. He says Umino keeps getting great opportunities, but he hasn't had one singles match for a championship. He said he's staying in New Japan to become a legend. May 4th, night 2, Yasuda defeated Nakahara. Main card started off with Takeshita versus Chase Owens for the TV Championship. Typical House of Torture match with loads of interferences. Multiple faces, including Umino, came out to help Takeshita. Takeshita pinned Owens after 2 power drive knees and a raging fire. A video then played afterwards when the lights came on. A man in a mask was standing behind Takeshita. He wiped Takeshita out and then took off his mask to reveal it was the returning Sanada. Oh, Gina Sanada's back now, looking for revenge on Takeshita.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a big shock or surprise. I think what was a bigger shock and surprise was just, the look he decided to return with. But then again, that's becomes another thing, hasn't it? His flamboyant way of dressing, I guess. It's very interesting. It was fun to see him come back for sure.
Yeah. I mean, Chase Owens, man, fuck's sake. But everyone came out during the match, and as we said, Sanada was the masked man. Unbound Company, Nagai and Gedo beat Taguchi and Matsumatsu. The Knockout Brothers, Oscar and Yuta beat Umino and Honma. Oscar submitted Honma with a nightmare sleeper. His quest for the tag team titles continues. And Wolf, Toriano, and Tiger Mask with Yo Master defeated House of Torture. Taichi and Yuri Uemura versus TMDK, Hartley Jackson and Oiwa. Taichi pinned Jackson after a Black Mephisto. After the match, Taichi proposed that he team with Yuri Uemura to face Zack Sabre Jr. and Oiwa. And it's unbelievable, Monty, that Taichi and Hartley are the same age. Because they get, and I know Taichi's a veteran. I'm not having to go at Hartley. I'm just saying maybe, the Japanese diet is better.
I don't know how you say that and not have a go hardly. No, I do agree with that. I've been marveling. That's one thing as a New Japan fan. I've marveled at pretty much the whole decade I've been really watching is like just how great when you look up some of these people's age and you look at what they're able to still do physically, and I'm just like, wow, what the hell are they feeding us over here and in the rest of the world versus what are they feeding them? Like some of the skin and quality. Don't get me started. This might be the only podcast where you see me complimenting wrestlers' skin quality, but Japanese wrestlers are just different, man. But yeah, I wouldn't. You couldn't if you didn't just say it, I wouldn't have guessed it either. Though that's one thing I will say. If you didn't just say that, I wouldn't have guessed it either.
Up next, Unbound Company, Driller Maloney, Robbie X, and Tajish Mori with Yotsuji faced Akira, Jake Lee, Jacob Ross Young, and Zane J. Suji pinned Jay. I say pinned him with a Boston Crab. Probably made him submit then. TMDK, he might have pinned him with a Boston Crab. Who knows? TMDK, Bobby Eagles, and Vegeta versus El Desperado and Mystico for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships. Mystico and Desperado got tandem submissions, with Vegeta and Eagles ended up tapping out at the same time. This was quite a surprise to change hands so quickly because, Jackson, we just talked about these Japan Sweet Boys, and they've just lost to Mystico and El Desperado in a shock.
Yeah, that changed hands really quickly for me, especially because I was trying to watch stuff consecutively. So I was like, okay, well, that was a quick run. I was a little bit shocked by that.
Well, especially when it's like Despy with Mystico, you go, oh, Mystico's got other commitments, and no, they're going to put a title on him.
Well, I was just wondering, like, what was the whole point? Like, was there actually a direction that they were going to go with the Ichiban Sweet Boys, or were they meant to be just placeholders for a couple of weeks? Because, yeah, it just felt a little bit like redundant as to why you would have even bothered to put the belts on them if you were just going to do this.
No, I completely agree.
I kind of came out that match confused, like, huh? But they just won it.
Yeah, I was the same. Speaking
Mystico
of
did that in AEW too, though. So you just got Mystico just always getting
Yeah, to be
belts
fair.
I
out of
should not be,
nowhere.
yeah, I should not be surprised, especially after Darby's match. I really shouldn't be surprised that, other promotions might be picking up this thing of, oh yeah, let's just do that. Just chuck the belt on someone for a week.
No, I think Mystico was like champion for like 24 hours as well, wasn't he? The six-man tag team
Yeah, the
titles
six man with
Oh,
with
Kevin
the
Knight and
dogs.
them, and
oh
then
yeah.
yeah,
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
with
that was
people.
how brief.
and then they
That
literally
was
lost
how
it.
brief that was. I
That's what I'm
completely
saying.
forgot. Yeah, I completely forgot about that because that's how quick that run was.
Well, speaking of six-man tag team titles, Bishamon with Belton Oleg versus United Empire with Ospreay, Hanari, and Great Khan. Both teams went out right away. Ospreay wiped out Goto and Oleg with a sky twister press from the top to the floor. Hashi turned a gore attempt from Hanari into a DDT. United Empire isolated Hashi late. Hanari and Khan held him up and got a double power bomb hidden blade combination for the win. I mean, to credit, this was just an awesome six-man tag match full of action and cool moves. But again, it was quite shocking. I can't cut a promo afterwards. They bragged about their win and they were said they were going for the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions next. He called out the Knockout Brothers and they came. And Ari told us he didn't care what he was going to say. I said they can get high together and make some money. What's wrong with that? He said everybody wants to get the pro wrestling high. And it looks like Hanari and Khan will challenge them as Ospreay took a seat in the background during the promo exchange. Now, Gino, again, I thought it was a little bit weird. Not maybe that the titles changed hands and Ospreay won, but then he took a back seat for what obviously is what Khan and Hanari are going to do when Ospreay's not there.
Yeah, definitely. This confused me a little bit because I was like, but wait, aren't they like trios? So why are they now challenging the tags? It just confused me because I don't really see it much in terms of crossovers with belts like that for New Japan, just for myself anyway. So yeah, it was a little confusing to get my head around, but once I got my head around it, it was interesting just to see, Osprey take that step back when usually he is at the forefront of a lot of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, another thing that I mentioned earlier about just the interesting dynamic that's coming out of Osprey returning to New Japan and not necessarily being the main lead of the faction and just merging it in with the United Empire's new style of how they are now as well.
Yeah. No, I thought again, I don't have a problem with Osprey being a champion. It's just how often those titles are going to get defended. So we'll see. We'll see. Main event was Callum Newman versus Shingo for the heavyweight IWGP Heavyweight Championship. The pace was quick during the early going. Newman went for the Oz cutter, but Shingo blocked. He hit a dragon screw a short time later. Jake Lee ran into the ring and went after Shingo, but Suji made the save. Newman then landed Suji with a kick. He hit Excalibur on Shingo for a near fall. Newman then hit Maiden Essex for another near fall. He then hit the Prince's Curse, but Shingo still kicked out, and the fans popped big. They started believing at this point. Will Ospreay came down to encourage Newman after the 30-minute mark had passed. Referee ended up getting shoved by Newman, and he hit a low blow and a Prince's Curse, but Shingo still kicked out. Newman told Ospreay to clear out ringside area. Suji was also ringside. Shingo hit a pumpkin bomber for a near fall. And Newman shoved the referee into Shingo, hit him with a low blow, and then hit the make way for the win. I mean, Monty, again, there was a lot going on, but I think this was the story, of Newman doing what it takes to get the victory and Will maybe not being that happy about it.
Yeah, I think that dynamic is was very strong in this one. You know, uh, I think I'm on two brains of it. I do love him, like you said, willing to do everything, the cheating. I think you can make the argument that us having like it's like I think the difference between this and House of Torture is House of Torture's matches they don't even get good before the cheating starts. And I think Newman has kind of found a way to kind of like give you some, like you said, some breathtaking stuff. He also just great heel. Like this is more like a traditional heel way to do it. Like yes, House of Torches are bad guys, but I think the way this cheating is kind of happening is like, all right, Newman is cocky, but as his cockiness starts to wane and he can't get it done, then it's like, okay, all right, well, let me kick him in the nuts. Let me push the referee. Let me do this. So, and Shingo's just impressive, man. Shingo is still one of the best. I'm still beating that drum, and I don't think he'll ever get another run with the world title. I've just kind of, I would love it, but I just don't know. Maybe one day, but like I kind of gave up on them ever investing in Shingo, and they probably shouldn't if we're just going off how much young talent they have. But my thing is that Shingo is still, even if you watch this match, I don't see how you can look at it and be like, Shingo's nowhere near world title worthy. Like those fans didn't believe that, and I think that's what makes Shingo so good is that not only is he still so physical and still so explosive, and can still have great matches like this, he also got those people believing in him to the point to where, I one of my favorite world title runs and just like runs to the world title was Shingo's initial world heavyweight championship run. So even though I kind of figured he wouldn't take the belt off Newman, especially in this first defense kind of setting, uh, the fact that Shingo just, had put so much emotion into the match and had the people believing that it was a chance that he could overcome it with the way they kind of structured the false finishes. And then Newman, again, Newman is just he's a great irritant. I think he's like one of the most irritating, you know, cowardly type of heels, but he's not so cowardly that he doesn't seem dangerous. He's still dangerous, still has a mean streak. And of course the ref spot, like one, you may not like the ref spot, but I don't have too much of a problem with it. And I think again, it depends on how you look at it because it is some elements to this match that I know a lot of people don't necessarily like all the time in their main events. But I thought the way these were implemented was good, and I think, like you mentioned, the best part of this is the psychology of the Osprey relationship, and it made me kind of want to lean into it more. Especially what they end up kind of signaling towards the post match. You can just kind of see it's evolving. It's getting more and more where we think it may go every time they kind of interact when Will is actually there. So yeah, I think again, it's one of the most interesting things that they kind of got going on is that dynamic. But the match itself was great, and I think at one point Newman sat next to Shingo's wife. Like again, just great heel stuff. I thought this was a good defense.
Yeah, no, because I think this is the thing, and even with this pod, I think Callum Newman might be overlooked a little bit. Do you know what I mean? And again, it's just because everything else going on and the kind of bigger story. But yeah, I
Yeah,
think he's been fantastic. And like I said, the post match Ospreay was shown sitting on the apron, not looking too thrilled. Newman was about to hit Shingo with a belt, but Suji got in the way. United Empire got up on the apron, and Newman hit Suji with a belt. Ospreay told Newman not to hit Shingo, and Newman told Ospreay to do it. He didn't want to do it, and Newman called him Death Rider Billy. Ospreay then nailed Shingo with a hidden blade, and he asked Newman if he was happy. Newman got on the mic and mocked Shingo and Suji. He said they were the top dogs in the company, sick of them ruining his moment. He challenged them to a match against him and Lee, and said if either of them can pin him in a tag match, then that person would main event against him at Dominion. Ospreay and Newman exchanged a glance, and Newman celebrated. But Jaxie, probably not the best for Callum Newman to do that, is it? Really, like you don't want to give people a chance, and to say like, "Oh, if one of you can pin me," I know it's the arrogance of the champion, but it's probably not best in the long run.
Yeah, but I think that this is something that I actually picked up on over the most recent few months, how much more Callum's arrogance has grown. And I've said to myself, his arrogance is going to get him in trouble one day. And he's just not even going to see it. And I think this is where it's actually all coming into play.
Yeah, I think you're right. Backstage comments to make us even more confused. Takeshita asked and was accepted as a Hontai member. So now he is a Hontai member in New Japan and he's a conglomeration member in AEW. I'm not sure. Driller said he was upset Andrade replaced Gabe rather than a New Japan talent like Tai Chi or Yoshihashi. I mean, Gina, is that? I mean, again, Andrade did win the title and maybe couldn't, someone had to replace Gabe, but you can see maybe why Driller and other talent are upset about them not getting an opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. Don't get me wrong. I do like Andrade. I like the crossover, and we know that Andrade has expressed he has a lot of respect for Japanese wrestling, and has wanted to work more within their promotion. So it's great for him to get the opportunity. But I 100% can see it from other wrestlers who are more full time on the roster of New Japan, being like, "Hello, we're here. Why couldn't you use one of us?" Rather than somebody from a different promotion. So I can totally understand and sympathize with them in that front too.
Robbie Eagles admitted that, yeah, he fucked it. Obviously, put the challenge out and losing. Despy wants to fight Mystico. Newman did thank Shingo, and he asked Will if he's a Death Rider or an Empire member. Will said he started a group and will always be with United Empire. Move on to May 6th. And of course, we had the big main event. We had House of Torture defeating Taguchi and Nakahara. 6-man tag match. Chaos, which is Toriano, Yo, Masawato defeating the Goto Revolutionary Army. Tag match. Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champion El Desperado and Tai Chi defeated Honma and Shota Umino. TMDK defeated Yasuda and Uemura. 6-man tag match. Strong openweight champion Boltin Oleg, Tiger Mask, and Aaron Wolf defeated House of Torture. 10-man tag team match. United Empire, which was Okan, Hanare, Akira, Jacob Oscar Young, and Zane J defeated Unbound Company, which utilized Oscar Ishimori, Nagai, and Gedo. And then the tag team match, Unbound Company, Shingo and Yotsuji defeated the United Empire, the IWGP Heavyweight Champion Callum Newman and Jake Lee via the Gene Blaster. And Suji got the pin. He gets an IWGP title at Dominion. And again, Monty, we're maybe not surprised, but at this point, I was kind of thinking, oh shit, the Newman thing is not a long-term plan, and maybe it never was.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think the funny thing about it is when it happened, you always you're not sure. Like in my opinion, it's kind of funny to me. It could just remind me of just like was just like then it makes you it begs the question, and I know we haven't really even got to like the actual title match itself yet, but it definitely begs the question of the long-term purpose of it. Do we just have to, if we are in New Japan and we have a baby face world champion, instead of having this? Because to be fair to, and like I'll be fair to myself as a long-term New Japan champion. I mean New Japan watcher. The person that I watched run the company was an insurmountable type of world champion. He was like a final boss in a sense, world champion in Okada, who at the end of the day, no matter who it was, they just didn't have enough to beat him. That's how I watched the world title get booked for a long time. So maybe you come to get used to that. So these shorter reigns, you start to wonder like what is the norm when we're running as a babyface? Do you have to have adversity, which means you might not keep the belt the entire year? And then always happened to Tanahashi either. Tanahashi always kind of carried the belt, especially in his prime, for most of the year. So it's very interesting how they decide to go. Are you just trying to build a new star in Newman or a new faction leader? Does the world title reign put him at the same level as Osprey, and does that justify a Osprey Newman match outside of just a pupil type of teacher, type of student, type of match that they may want to do for Wrestle Kingdom or something else down the line? I don't know. Again, that's what it made me think when you look at them kind of posturing to already go back to the rematch. Because I honestly, going into this, I not necessarily once he made the match, but once it was Suji, like you said, it won. I was like, oh. So he might not even have it during the G1. So I thought that was very interesting. Because I thought when he won it after the cup, I thought it was almost guaranteed that he would probably take it to the dome. But
yeah.
Here we are.
Well, like I said, you have Suji, like I said, being champion and having that, unless they're worried about comparisons to, like I said, Okada or Tanahashi, or you have Newman, and again, the story against Will kind of would main event a Wrestle Kingdom as well, but maybe they're going something different. Yeah, it's interesting times. Right, backstage comments. Takuchi is hilarious. Goto's mascot was fucking terrifying. And Boltin Oleg sustained an injury to his left elbow. He said he would be out of action as a result. A return date still yet to be determined. Which, again, Jax, is a shame because Bolton's one of those guys where you know, when I'm watching, I really do like him, you know, and I think he's got a lot going for him. But again, his arms are wreck, and as Monty says, they usually wrestle with injury, so God knows the state it's in for getting to stop.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to kind of also sort of pick up my agreement in terms of I think that Monty and yourself were saying earlier with regards to Aaron Wolf. Um, it's not that I've not connected like that he's a bad wrestler, but I don't think I've fully connected with Aaron Wolf in the same way that I have Bolton Oleg. And I think he's extremely talented and really should get pushed a lot more. But I also know that he's strapped up every time I see him, and I'm not entirely sure how much he can hold himself together without actually taking some real time off and actually giving his body time to rest.
Yeah, I know, and that's a horrible thing to say. Because again, if you know, like I said, you lose your spot or something like this, it takes time to
Mm,
get back. You know, but you know, needs must when it comes to
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I'm going to talk about the best of the Super Juniors quickly. I didn't force everybody to watch that, but I have got some notes from the event. Um, sh- and Monty, you mentioned this right at the start with Evil obviously not being in New Japan, but Sho has been dressing as Evil. I'm not sure how long he has been doing it, but when he came out, I was like, he's dressed like Evil. So I was, you know, fair play.
He has a great wig on the jacket. Like it's uncanny at first.
Really is. Anyway, Taguchi, this was his 22nd best of the Super Juniors, which is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Nagai and Jay's first. I mean, Taguchi's just, he's a legend, without a doubt. And I did love the look of Hayo. Did I say I love Yo? And they kissed. They did kiss. Those lucky, lucky bastards. I mean, Monty, it's probably the most sexually charged moment I've seen in wrestling.
I don't know why. I don't know why Yo can't keep it in his mouth slash pants or whatever at all. By the way, he can't
He seems
contain
to,
himself.
he seems to be embracing his inner sexual side.
Oh, just
Yeah,
go.
you
Yeah.
know. Again, I
I mean, good
probably
for
when he
you,
was.
though. Uh,
Jaxie, are we missing this in American wrestling? The
no,
homoerotic. I think we need more of it.
no,
I
no.
do.
And do you know what? Okay, like I say that, and that is not in any regards to, me saying that we do not need, any form of I just think that we don't need any form of cheesiness with kisses and things like that in
It
wrestling.
wasn't
It's
cheese.
wrong.
It was. I can't explain it.
Sex.
It
This
was
is
It was
raining.
wrestling.
lust.
It was.
This is
It was
wrestling. I feel like unless like this used to be stuff that used to be done in the 90s of like sort of phase of wrestling, so I personally don't need to have that. But I mean, each to their own. People get entertained at the smallest of things.
I should have known when he was popping his chest so much back in the days that
I
this is
mean,
this is where
I
he was at.
always wondered why he was doing that, and now I feel like with his character, it's
It's
starting
always
to
a
make
sign.
sense.
Yeah, he's a playboy. He's a playboy. He's
wow.
Yep.
beloved.
Uh,
To be fair though, to Yo, he had a reputation when he was younger. That's the reason why he was in Roppongi 3K. Like even when he was a young lion,
What, to be a
they
hoe?
said Yo, yeah,
Yo was a
Yo was
hoe?
a party monster. He was a party monster. Like
Wow.
Yo's a
even before he
hoe,
was had a
Yo's a
gimmick, they said
hoe.
Yo
Once
had
a
a
hoe, always a hoe, yo.
yeah, exactly. Yo got a reputation. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't be trying to make him exclusive, James. You might have don't add him to your
no,
list with
no,
Drew
no. I
McIntyre
know.
because
I
Probably
know.
got
I can never.
he's probably got
You,
like at least three boyfriends on the go already. So don't
yeah,
think you're anything special. Just say.
his
no, I
phone be
know.
blowing up, James.
No, it's like trying to catch air with him. I'll just let him.
Yeah.
I'll just let him go. Nick Wayne was in the Super Juniors. Even though he's not been
Yes, he
seen on
was.
AEW TV, I don't think in about a year. He kicked the shit out of Robbie X's face, and when I say kicked the shit out of it, guys, all right,
Hmm.
Robbie
Oh my
X had a
God, yeah.
bruise on his face. Like,
I
Literally.
saw a
oh,
clip of that. That looked painful.
painful. You would be like, mate, it's the first fucking match of the tour. Do you know I got 10 more?
Right. Like, jeez.
Wow. Anyway, Kushida wrestles barefoot, which causes more harm than good. I'm not going to fucking lie when it comes to that. Vegeta versus Akira was
Hey, listen, he
fantastic.
was inspired by Matt Riddle, okay?
Oh, no, honestly, man, like it cost him so much trouble. Like people stamping on it, or nicking his shoe, or eating his
Well, I
sock.
mean, even
Like,
those people do that as well. So I wonder if they
They
can
never
expose
learn.
some
I
secrets as
know.
to what the success is of being able to wrestle with no shoes on.
Yeah, Fujita versus Akira was fantastic on night one. Despy versus Eagles was great on night three. Valentina Jr. injured doing a handspring moonsault, but still managed to compete. Taguchi now tied Jushin Thunder Liger's win record and performs a small dance number post match to celebrate. Which again, I just love it. Jun Kasai is fucking hardcore. He stuck syringes in his own head. Every match he had was extreme. His match with Vegeta was fucking nuts. Show versus Yo was so much fun. Robbie X was having his moment as well. I'm not a huge fan of Titan, not gonna lie. When Vegeta defeated Taguchi, Taguchi was forced to have a center parting for 69 days. Can we stop the damn match? I mean, Gina, we mentioned her, but to have a center parting and be forced to have that for 69 days, how can Taguchi ever get over it?
Oh my God, the audacity. I'm already in pain just thinking about the center parting. Um yeah, it's probably the worst stipulation you could put in a match.
Well, we all know Taguchi was right hand size parting, you know, and Vegeta was the more cool left. But at the moment, I don't know how Taguchi's going to do it. Robbie X grew hair for his match against Taguchi. Wait a minute, it was a wig. The theft of Mew Mew kept me up at night. I'm not going to lie. It was Hayo's pet, which was stolen by Show and House of Torture. It was viciously caged and held hostage. And then the semi-finals
Oh,
were
that's the name of the little dog.
well, it was a leopard. I'm not gonna get
Was
into.
it a leopard? Oh, my bad.
Yeah, the leopard.
Uh,
All right, let's
oh,
not
okay.
disgrace Mew Mew's legacy any more than it has been by
Hasn't he
House of
been through
Torture.
enough?
Yeah,
My
stop the
bad, my
damn
bad.
match.
Listen, this was my first. I watched the final, okay, and that was my first ever time seeing this character. So give me a second to catch up, okay?
Yeah, well, I after his match with fucking
Gorgeous man, by
Yo,
the way.
I watched every match of his career.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh,
was
I
like,
paid very close too.
does he kiss any
I,
more men? I wanna.
eyes glued. What a gorgeous little man.
Oh, he really. He's just like ripped and tight and just. Oh my god, you could do your washing off that. Anyway, semi-finals was A block winner, which was Robbie Eagles facing last year's winner Vegeta, and B block winner Masayato facing A block runner-up Yo. And what's that you say? Both have been junior tag champions this year, and they face each other as well. Yes, that means it's good shit. Finally, I should say Mew Mew is back with Hayo thanks to Despy. But wait, we've got a taser wielding Sasaki. God damn it. Anyway, the semi saw Vegeta and Yo defeat their respective partners to give us the final. On the undercard, Jake Lee destroyed ELP with a chair. And Jax, I don't know why he did it with ELP, came back and was like, Ethic's fine, and then Jake Lee just fucked him up.
Yeah, he got absolutely murked by him. And like I felt like, that I think there's like a gif of like this white monkey sat on a box with its hands like exasperated, like, why? But what? But why? Because again, I didn't watch this weekly and I couldn't help but think, what did ELP do to you, Jake? What was so horrible that he did? Because
I know.
that was a brutal attack. Like he called your mama Sutton. So what happened? You know?
I have no idea. The big news is Mew Mew is back with Hayo. As for the main event, Vegeta beat Yo in last year's final, and this marked Yo's third trip to the Best of Super Junior final, but he had yet to win until now. And what a moment it was, Monty. Because again, I know you've been on the journey longer, but my emotional attachment to
Yeah.
Yo, him, Taguchi, it seems, are my go-to guys. But
You know what?
yeah,
That actually makes a lot of sense. That makes, that makes a lot of sense when I think about it. Yeah, I've been there, man. It was so cool, man. I think I think as a longtime fan, he kind of touched a little bit of he kind of you know I didn't realize this, and I just think that he's a freaking genius. Like I always knew that he was a good wrestler. Like I like Yo. I like both. I like Yo and Show a lot. Even Show in House of Torture, I think he's been lost his mind. He's nowhere near. He used to be it's funny how much of a technical wrestler Show was, and now he's just like a lunatic. But I still love that because again, I really like Yo and Show, and it's just to watch him, like you said, kind of come close for so long. I watched him get hurt at the wrong time when it felt like the company was going to give him the ball to run with. So to kind of see him, kind of get into this match, uh, again, it was an epic match. Don't get me wrong, him and Fuji. Because again, you got to remember, because if I remember this right, Fuji beat him last year in the final, right?
Yeah, that
So
was
it's like
last
they
year's final.
had
Yeah.
right. So they had that history right there. Like once they got going and they got into that into the flow of things, man, this was just insanely good. And then I think he's a genius because, like I talk about it, somebody who's watching New Japan, he's kind of been like he feel like me in my opinion, to where he's watched a lot of stuff changed over the years in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, the crowd they love like like screw what I'm thinking. You hear what how the people sound when Yo is really in the ring and things are going, they're into every little thing he do. When they're fighting for submissions, and you can see them exclamating every time it looked like Yo couldn't get like even a simple roll up. He was just trying to complete a roll up and then it got reversed. And now you can hear people sound like, oh, he couldn't finish a roll up. Like literally. Like that's how invested in every move Yo is. Yo does that's just how invested people are. And I really do think that's how they had me on the edge of my seats in that. And like this is a career defining type of performance in my opinion for Yo. Like you said, for somebody who come up short so many times, had many stops and starts, and I think he's finally found that his niche. Whether you may look at Yo and think he's a little goofy, you may look at Yo and think whatever you want to think, but I just think that Yo has really done a good job of just like mastering. Like I said, we've lost so many great talents, and for him to kind of run through the ghost of chaos, so to speak, like he kind of hit on a lot of great New Japan legends and references with a lot of moves and a lot of stuff. Like like he's doing just like running down the list of people to copy to the point to where he's just copying people like even up leading up to this match he was copying Great Khan at time. Like he's having so much fun. Like I've never seen somebody technically wrestle great and like still be physical, but at the same time do things that make you chuckle and like and the funny thing about it, Jay, you say that he reminds you of Taguchi. That's kind of like that's what got Taguchi over. That's what got Taguchi in his position that he's in. He's a great technical wrestler, great with submission, but Taguchi is hilarious. And it's not necessarily that he's mimicking people, but everybody has fun when they know Taguchi is coming out there. And like he may not look like it now, but Taguchi is one of the most accomplished super juniors in the world because of that. And it looked like Yo is finally starting to build out that for himself because, like you mentioned, James, it's insane for somebody. I associate him as a great tag team junior champion, but you would think for somebody as good as him, he would have been in this position already. So it's really good to see him, finally get over that hump because we watched some people, surpass him in a sense for this achievement. And it's finally Yo's time. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the thing as well. To realise you've won the best of Super Juniors is so. But don't get me wrong. Like winning the championship is a great thing, but to have that, no one can ever take it away from you. Before Dominion, which will be our last show, we're going to cover. We have some news, and Monty, you're going to have to explain this because I got really confused. Bushy Road, which oversaw New Japan through its 2010s revival and international expansion efforts, announced it's transferred all its shares to promotion to TVS Asahi and Cyber Agent, and now a consolidated subsidiary of TV Asahi with the support. TV Asahi is New Japan's longtime broadcast partner and already owned 22%. Bushiro owned 70%, and the transfers of shares, blah, 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 blah. But what I found interesting is that Cyber Agent, or Cyber Fight, as it's known, already owns Pro Wrestling Noah, DDT, and Tokyo Joshi Pro. So I'm just interested to see how it collaborates with New Japan. Will there be that big a changing or anything like that? I just, what's the story? Because it seems quite a big deal, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it is a big deal from the sense of kind of like it's just kind of like it explains a lot in my opinion. I think as somebody who's been a fan of them pretty much the entire Bushiroad kind of run for New Japan. I don't think it's like a I don't think it's going to change a lot, at least straight forward, because I think they've already been changing a lot. But it's just another sign that we kind of like in a completely different era in New Japan, man. And just like you said, kind of being now in direct family with Noah and DDT, other Japanese male professional wrestling, and like Bushiroad, I think they said it themselves. Like they just feel like they did their jobs of raising New Japan's value because when they took over, New Japan's values, was pretty much at an all time low. Like they weren't managed properly, like around the mid 2000s. So like from the late 2000s on to like you just mentioned where we are now, they did a really good job of getting New Japan's name value globally and just financial value up. Now I do think I make jokes about Bushiroad all the time, because we lost a lot of wrestlers because they refused to pay people and et cetera, et cetera. Now, do I think that's going to get better when we go to, when you switch over to Cyber Agent? I don't know. I can't act like that's going to be a whole lot better financially. And it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be really, really interesting to see, in my opinion. Even though I think for TV, not for TV, actually, but I think for Bushiroad, they said they've made their money. But yeah, for 14 years, they've kind of been under the same management. So I do think it kind of can make you nervous because pretty much prime New Japan, really one of the best runs they've had was under this management and this company. And like to kind of see that switch, it kind of depends on. I'm split on it. Let me say it this way, John. I'm kind of split
Mm.
because I do think things can change, and we are already starting to change. Like we mentioned, with just how much involvement New Japan has in other companies, they didn't really do that for the big chunk of the Bushiroad run and all of that. But it's also just like I'm not gonna act like this version of New Japan that we watch now is the same New Japan that was in that peak popularity time for New Japan. It's just not. It's not the same. It's not ran the same. Decisions are not made the same. Financially, it's not the same. But I do believe that when you have things like this happen, kind of like what we seeing with WWE and TKO, that can change your company for the better, but it also can make certain things like I still think we're starting to see the lasting effects of TKO now. Like at first, it didn't seem like it was going to change much, but as you start to see them being cheap and not wanting to re-sign veteran talent or whatever different things that we're noticing about WWE now, different ownership, different management can affect things. So I'm hoping I'm wrong, and I'm hoping it's more on the positive end, and this just means a new era and not much of what we love about New Japan actually changes. But you never really know when it's mergers and and things getting transferred over. Sometimes things don't change. Sometimes we get new big wigs coming in thinking they know what's best for business. So you never know in the corporate world. I'm don't get me started on my anti-corporate slander because I can do it.
No, but again, like you said, even when transfer power or mergers and stuff, like you said, I just think of like WCW and stuff like that. So, but who knows? It might be something completely different. And weirdly enough, Dominion was broadcast on TV Asahi in Japan. So I suppose they've got a bigger platform now to maybe show it to their audiences.
Right. It's not just streaming now. So yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. Yeah.
So Dominion June 14th is up with a TV title, Sanada versus Takeshita. For Sanada's entrance, a bunch of guys in Sanada's mask was representing his many changes and eras throughout his time in New Japan entered and stood up on a ramp before the real one showed up in a red coat and, of course, red hair. Jaxie, again, I'll speak to you about this because we love Sonada, like I said, he Riz, as the kids say, and all this lot. But again, even his entrance, and I thought with the different looks, was so much better than like. Do you remember Cody's entrance at WrestleMania when they tried it? And I thought this was just
Yeah.
so much, this was so much better.
I don't know why it felt like a superstar type level entrance, Like every time, a new model came out, I was going, is that him? No, no. Okay, wait. Is that him? Okay, no. There was like just anticipation and build up. Like he's created so many different personas of himself that seeing those iconic outfits just brings a lot more hype to then seeing the character.
I mean, some were wearing t-shirts with muscles on, but again, the transformation to Sonada in all red was
Yeah.
fantastic. As for the match, Sonada bailed and sprayed something into his eyes to Takeshi's eyes for booze. Despite being billed as no longer House of Torture, the referee bumped and he also hit Takeshita with his guitar for two, but Takeshita hit the power drive and then finished with a raging fire. And Jax, it was the right result because again, Sonada's cool, but Takeshita kind of needed the win, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it 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 could have gone either way, but I think it was the right call with Takeshita picking up a win here.
Jake Lee versus ELP, no DQ. We got a chair tower, and even worse, a nipple cripple was used. ELP tornado DDT and then tuned up the band. He looked to load up his boot, but it took too long, and Lee took ELP down and used a steel plate to choke out his opponent for the referee stoppage. I mean, Gina, we speak about Jake Lee. He has got that weird factor I like. I mean, I get why he wears the mask and he has the monkey, but again, I'm not sure why he hates ELP so much.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the beef started with these two, so I can't truly understand why Jake has this hatred for him. But I do like his kind of crazy persona in a way. It's different, I guess. But yeah, I don't know where the beef started.
No, poor ELP. TMDK, Zack Sabre Jr. and Oiwa versus Taichi and Uramura. Taichi and Oiwa went to lariats that staggered the other. Oiwa finally took Taichi down with 1 for 2. Oiwa took down Taichi with a long headlock and went for submission. Taichi escaped and trapped Uramura for the free. And Monty, I wasn't expecting that, but still, it was good stuff with kind of Oiwa finding his level, you know?
Yeah, I mean, again, this is a really good match. I wasn't expecting much. I mean, anytime Tati and Zach together, I always think back to their tag team days, and me not really, I guess me being biased against the two younger tag team partners in this situation kind of was like, just like marking out because they getting to kind of watch Tachi and Zach on opposite sides was fun. But, again, I thought this was really, really good. I do think it kind of ended, out of nowhere. I don't know if I was expecting it, but like you mentioned, it was a good story underneath it. And, again, I don't understand it. I just come away from all every time Tai Chi goes out there and gives a great performance. And I get it. You mentioned James' age. Maybe that's why. Maybe we know New Japan wants to invest in the future. Maybe they feel like Tai Chi's story is already told at this point. But I just don't understand why we don't focus more on like when Tai Chi goes out here and do impressive things like this and like have great matches, with the young talent as you can see. I don't know why Tachi don't get get featured more, in my opinion. But I can say the same thing for Zach at this point because if you really pay attention to what's kind of been happening to Zach since since his world title run, I mean, he's had a pretty good tag run, but we all know Zach is, in my opinion, way better than just a tag run. We just kind of proved that with his fight with Kenny. So, that was a good reminder of like, what Zach is. But I don't know. That's kind of what I took away from the match, but it was still a good match. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was good, and I was impressed. I was surprised that they let Tachi get the victory because often Tachi gives good performances and lose. But again, I see that I get the story, like Orwa growing pains and like where Tachi is still at this point time is what they're trying to get across right now.
Yeah. But again, that's an excellent point because, again, you would think they would like double down on Zack Sabre Jr. or like we said with Hiroki Goto, as a former champion,
Yeah,
but instead they literally are focused on kind of like they're doing. I mean, Zack's hardly been in New Japan this year, like so.
that's what I'm saying. Like he's been
Yeah,
so under. I don't get it. I just don't understand why are we. Again, I thought once we lost Okada, I thought it was gonna be time to lean more on guys like that instead of just throwing the young guys into the fire. And I'm not saying I oppose throwing them into the fire because I get on WWE and I get on other companies all the time about making new stars, but I do think you can underutilize. Like where Zach, Zach is literally in the prime, so you can't really
Yeah.
explain Zach to me. He's literally in his prime, so I don't really get that.
Mystico versus Desperado was next. Mystico missed the springboard moonsault, hit a cross body, but Desperado tied him up, hit numero dos for the shockingly quick tap. I mean, it was all right. Mystico doesn't lose often, but I wasn't really invested in it. Aaron Wolf versus Ren Narita for the Never Openweight Championship. Wolf fired up and hit an angle slam. Narita caught the referee's attention to hit a low blow. Narita went for a double cross and Wolf fought to the rope. Narita missed from the top. Wolf hit a power slam, Uranagi, and another angle slam to get the win. Jaxie Wolf is now two-time champion. Can he wrestle? We don't know because all he's done is House of Torture matches. But we've not really mentioned Ren Narita because Narita had a little spell in AEW and he's kind of gone underneath the radar with all the other kind of young guys at this moment in time.
Yeah, it's a bit weird with Ren. He's kind of like he was getting a push, and I feel like there's a part of him that's just kind of really died down in that regard, in terms of his momentum. But I don't know what's not clicking. Maybe it's because I don't watch it as often enough, but I don't really know much about Aaron Wolf's personality. And to be honest, I all I can vaguely remember is him forever feuding with House of Torture. So I'll be interested to see, which sort of opponents he'll take on, becoming the champ again. It's an amazing feat though for him. You can't deny the strength of being able to take on the entire House of Torture and still come out the champion. So, he's got this talent, but I don't know. There's something for me that's just not quite clicked in place for me to like enjoy Aaron Wolf as a wrestler as much as I do others, but that's not to take away from his talent. It's just saying I don't know him well enough.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, I watch it, try and watch it as much as I can, but still, like, it's a little bit of a disconnect. Maybe that will improve,
Yeah,
like I
like you
said.
can't get a read on him, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe he's just got to do a bit more in terms of his character work to be able to build on that and actually connect a bit more with the audience. Because, again, it might just be me in that regard, but I don't feel as much of a connection with the audience either. But maybe that's because, what I do notice in New Japan is there is a connection that like the wrestlers kind of make out with their audience. And with Aaron Wolf, I just haven't entirely seen that yet, and that could be from me not watching it consistently.
No, I feel, like I said, there's talent there, but again, coming from, the judo background and being a gold medalist and stuff, like years of training of not showing your emotions and, do you know what I mean? And all that kind of, he's got to try to change it all now. So,
yeah.
It'd be interesting to see, like Wrestle Kingdom where he is, and then again, someone definitely to keep an eye on. Up next, we got the Knockout Brothers versus the United Empire, Hanari and Okan for the IWGP Tag Team Championships. The champs hit the rumbling and Khan broke up. Oscar tried to fire up Ice but got bumped to the floor. Hanari hit a super kick and charged right into a hard knee by Ice, but Ice ended up eating a chair shot from the outside. Oscar got the chair super kicked into his face by Khan. United Empire teamed up for the Imperial Bomb, and Hanari covered Ice, and we had a title change. The new champs beat down their opponents a little more afterwards to booze. I mean, Gina, this was a shock, but I don't know if it was a good kind of shock. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean. It's not that I'm kind of mad at the title change, but I also kind of felt that the momentum was still with Ice and Oscar, and I didn't know that now was going to be the right time to change that up. So I get what you mean.
And not only that, but the fact that they became tag champs as trios champions, it's like that never happens.
Yeah, this is exactly what I was referring to earlier when I was confused why Will just went and sat in the corner when it was meant to be about the three of them, but then it went, okay, let's forget about the three of us and go to a tag again. It's just a little confusing. Like you should be just focusing on one and letting others have that opportunity to have the other. It's kind of, that's where you're thinking about, oh, this is another opportunity of taking that opportunity away from somebody else.
Yeah, yeah, and especially when Knockout Brothers could have beat the record for amount of title defenses as first time champions, but not going to get. But again, like Hanari and Akana are double champs, so I suppose we can't be too sad about that. A nice moment as well. Oscar protecting his brother afterwards as well, with the chair came raining down.
That was
Up next,
so sweet as well.
I
Gave like
know.
Lita and Matt Hardy vibes.
Yeah, I know. Up next, Shota Umino versus Drilla Maloney versus Andrade El Idolo, the Global Heavyweight Championship. Andrade hit the DM on Umino for a long two, but Maloney broke it up. Drilla got bumped, and Andrade started to remove a corner pad, and Drilla got involved again. And he gored Andrade. He hit the Drilla killer, but it was broken up by Umino. Umino then hit a flash knee on Drilla for two. Lariat for Maloney sent him out of the ring. Umino hit the second chapter on Andrade. Drilla charged in to break it, but it was a second too late, and another new champion in Shota Umino. Afterwards, Umino was going to speak, but Gabe Kidd showed up and took him out with a power driver. The announcers called him out and said the money wasn't enough and said he betrayed the Lion Mark. He then jawed at Maloney and told him he could have bigger than this. He ran down WWE in New Japan and threatened to say fuck AEW for catching himself. He lit his music, and Maloney looked confused about what to think on the ramp. Monty, sometimes, man, they do like 3 months of booking in a match, and this felt like another one of like, oh, shooters, Umino's won it. Oh, shit, Gabe's back. Like, what the fuck?
Like I don't understand. I don't get the insistence on ruining new champions moment that we have going on now in this situation because I thought the match was great. Like, first of all, three ways are still I know they're doing them a lot more. So I'm gonna have to stop saying three ways are not as frequent in Japan, but like this is really cool to even get this type of match. Then you get three guys that I think we'd all definitely at the very least respect and like in Maloney, and then of course Andrade, and then like Shota in this match, and Shota finally gets over the hump in some way, shape, or form, and gets that big victory in a really good match. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, pretty much up until he hit the finish, I thought Andrade was retaining. So to get Shota to actually pull off the victory and Driller to kind of just fall short, which kind of can leave Driller optimistic for like maybe he is really just that close to finally being in contention again or winning it in himself. And then like again, I actually wanted to see. I was hoping that we kind of get a little bit of Shota Umino saying, "Yeah, no, boo me now, sons of bitches," but he couldn't even get a word out. He couldn't even talk. He couldn't even flex on the fans who was booing him all this time. Because I ride for Shota Uno. I'm despite all the negatives that I understand when people point out about Shota, I actually really like Shota Uno. So for them to ruin it again by here we go for it. He had that injury, and I'm like, well, hopefully he don't get injured this time. But like again, he pump in, and here we go. Let's restart where we were because this was for Gabe. Remember, guys? That's just kind of like where we are. It's like rewind. I remember when Gabe beat up Suji. Here he's back now to do this again. So yeah, I don't really like how they did it. I'm again, you guys can call me bitter because he left. Whatever you want to say. I just don't really care about the Gabe involvement in this run because I feel like and it don't got much to do with Gabe himself as much as it got to do with I feel like New Japan finally got a title that's becoming pretty interesting now. No offense to Suji, but he wasn't going to be able to defend both of them, so I wasn't surprised that he lost it as fast as he did. But for us I felt like it was time to let's turn this global belt into the old Intercontinental title, where it can be one of the most entertaining matches on these big cards. And I thought maybe Shota Umino could be a great way for us to do that. Even Andrade, I thought, even though his run ended up being short, I thought he was a great way for us to do that. So for us to kind of revert back, and now here we go towards Gabe, which again, I'm not saying he can't do it also. I'm just saying Gabe doesn't work for them. So how can we build this division? Like you can make the case for Andrade too, but we just rectified that by giving it to somebody who's gonna be there all the time. And now here we go, reverting back to working with people outside the company. When you got a good contender in Driller right there, could be Shota Umino's first opponent. Why are we going back to Gabe so fast?
No, it seemed really weird. And Jackson, have you ever seen a wrestler get injured and return to another company before he returned to AEW? Because I'm sure Gabe got injured in AEW, but
Uh,
returned to New Japan first.
that that is a great question. That's a great question. I don't think I've ever seen that happen, and this was exactly the question I asked when I saw him myself turn up in New Japan. I was like, "Remind me where he got injured again," because I was like, "Have you let your boss know that you're okay now?"
Is he taking a sick day? Like, does
Yeah,
he?
have
Yeah,
you
does
taken a
Tony
sick
not
day
know?
just to turn up elsewhere? Like, I don't, or maybe do you think that he, honest to God, forgot that he moved companies and
Well,
just
he
turned it
did.
up? I was like, oh, oops, shit.
He did
Hey,
try
guys.
and say "fuck AEW" and then realise what he was saying. So maybe.
Again, though, Gabe does not know what comes out of his mouth until it actually comes out of his mouth. So that does not surprise me.
That is true. Up next, Yo versus Doki for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. Sami got bumped to the outside and Show entered with a foreign object. Master Wato tried to make the save, but he got hit in error. I shouldn't laugh, but it was quite funny. Yo ended up taking out Doki and Show. Doki hit a low blow and a back kick. And went for the darkness stretch, but Yo managed another dragon screw to break out of it after a good while. Yo went for a darkness scorpion and held on as Doki went to the corner. Doki reached for a steel pipe, but President Tanahashi pulled it away. Is the comeback on? After some outside chaos, Yo hit a big super kick and a direct drive to finally win the big one. Oh my God. I mean, Gina, I'm a huge Yo fan, but to put it in perspective, Doki hasn't lost since this time last year,
Yeah, that was mental. I didn't know what was going to happen here. So again, another nice surprise to see this outcome, but I was happy for him.
Yeah, I was as well. What a moment. He made the challenge to Vegeta and Sho tried to attack Yo. Wato fought off Sho and then held up the belt himself. Vegeta wanted a piece of it and Yo reminded him it's his. Akira got involved and after the chaos, Yo said it looked like everyone wants a piece of him. So it's time to play a game. The four of them can have a match and he'll take on the winner. Like we said, Doki has had a great run as champion, but I'm so happy for Yo. And Monty, it shows you can be silly but also serious, because it mostly shenanigans, but money sometimes funny does equal money.
And I think this is something that I think New Japan nails, and I think to an extent AEW, but like most of the people I see. I'm trying to think of somebody who we hold to a high regard who is like looked at as like silly in AEW. I can't really think of nobody off the top of my head, but I know for a fact that like I think that's how I know. To me, you only can be typecast or placed in only comedy or only silly if you're booked a certain way, in my opinion. I think New Japan shows you that you can be looked at as crazy, silly, whatever, weird, but if like you go out there and you can bring it and you're allowed the time and the consistency to go out there and wrestle and bring it. And to be fair to Yo, before he kind of got as eccentric as he is now, he already kind of had the track record of being good. But to be fair, you got to be able to mix it in perfectly. So it's on the talent, but I think it's also on the way you use that talent, in my opinion, to where people, because I think WWE, they run stuff into the ground. Therefore, the character becomes only known for whatever is supposed to be funny, instead of, in my opinion, letting Yo wrestling speak for himself. His personality is just the icing on top of the cake that is Yo, and what a cake that is Yo is. Yo is very cakey
Tasty,
guy. Yeah,
tasty,
so tasty,
tasty
so
cake.
tasty. Very sweet guy.
What are we talking about? Oh, right, yeah, back to the wrestling. Yeah, Suji versus Callum Newman for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship's last match. We're going to review. The two went to the apron on the side with a table, and each fought off attempts to put the other one through it. Newman hit a knee, then shoved Suji down onto it, but it didn't break, as they often don't in Japan, and he rolled off into a barricade and likely a far worse landing. Referee hit a count of 19 when Suji finally got back into the ring. There was a really interesting moment as well when it comes to Newman, and he was going to take a count out which of course would mean he'd lose the championship. But at that point, didn't want any. But Tsuji did throw him back in. Tsuji hit a Gene Blaster for 2. He got hit another one in the air and got a 2. He charged and hit a new move like a Gene Blaster with a twist, and it was good to get the win. And Tsuji is your new IWGP Heavyweight Champion. Jaxie, how many titles have we seen change hands on this show, eh? But the heavyweight title is back with Tsuji.
I mean, Dominion was full of title changes and ones that I really did not see coming, you know. So this was just, this also just came as a shock because of how long Callum Newman actually held the belt. I thought, you know, it was a pretty big shock in the first place for him to pick up the belt this early from Tsuji, and yet I still felt like, oh, okay, I'm now confused. It wasn't even that long for him to have a title run, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the whether or not things changed. I don't know if maybe Callum's injured and they were like, okay, we're gonna have to change hands. I don't know if they were like, okay, Callum, you had a little, you know, tidbit of, you know, what it's like to be champion, but we're putting it back on Tsuji. I don't know if they just did sort of like what they did with the MJF and Darby Allin situation. I'm just not sure. But I was quite confused at seeing him pick up the loss here. I was not expecting it. And that's not to say anything bad about Tsuji, but yeah, I didn't think Callum Newman had that much of a significant run with the belt.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting. Again, like I said, it doesn't even last a podcast. Do you know what I mean? If we'd
exactly.
If we'd covered it in April, but
right, and to be honest, it's not even that long. I'm pretty sure it was like something like 71 days. So that's really relatively short, especially for someone so young. You would have thought they would have wanted to potentially put a bit more of a longer stamp on his first title run. But, you know, again, this is another pleasant shock. And this is the beauty of wrestling, where, you know, things look like they're set up, or, you know, things look safe because they're a new champion. But like, this is the uncertainty that comes into it actually also does help to not always feel like you're kind of guessing the matches just based on who's currently champion and what type of run they're having, you know?
Yeah, without a doubt. Cedric took the mic afterwards and said he's taken the IWGP back. He said he thought he had control of the company until Beast showed up and slowed him down. He said he's ready for another challenge anytime. He said he can call this a new generation, a new Japan. Although it's often said it's truly arrived with him on top, he can now truly say we are all ready for it. He said he's ready to lead every single one of us. He said, I am your IWGP heavyweight champion. And then he tossed the mic as the gold streamers exploded in the ring. Like we said, I mean, Gina Newman had injured his shoulder. So how serious it is, because apparently he was going to be at Forbidden Door and never was. And hopefully the story with Ospreay will continue. But that will be interesting because of what Will's going to be up to as well, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, for sure. It'll be interesting to see this dynamic with these changes come into play. But again, just really shocking, because you're going to go into a certain circuit with an idea of who's going to be on top, and it changes just like that.
Yeah. Backstage comments, Jake Lee was more than happy to take advantage of ELP. Zack Sabre Jr. said 5 years in a row he's had a match at Forbidden Door. He might be the only wrestler to actually have, I don't know, but I guess in the last 5 years at Forbidden Door, fair play to Zack. Uemura says he needs to work harder to win the G1. Aaron Wolf's hairy chest makes me wonder if he's the only one in New Japan. I know Driller has a hairy chest, but it's still not something you see in New Japan every day. Taichi asked Knockout Brothers why they lost the titles and for the G1 not being qualified. Gabe Kidd said he is a member of the Death Riders in New Japan. And then he went off. He said, fuck New Japan and all you cunts. Andrade might have lost, but he said he's faced 2 idiots, which I suppose is good. Umino talks about winning this first title. We asked Gabe, what has he done in AEW? And why does he keep talking about New Japan? Ooh. Sho was pissed. Yo was ecstatic. Akira wants the gold. And Tsuji said it's not a new generation, but it's the now generation. And the final bit of news story, Monty, was, of course, Tsuji, as Jackson mentioned earlier, not appearing at Forbidden Door, whether this was a snub or whatever it was. I don't know. What were your thoughts on it? Because a lot of people, Will Ospreay and even others in New Japan, said Suji should be a fighting champion no matter what.
Yeah. Again, I think I'm two brains on it. I think his opinions are validated, and I think it speaks volumes, in my opinion, for how some people, and I can only speak for Suji. Obviously, he's the only one who openly said it. But like it just goes back to the sentiment that I spoke on in the past on this show about the relationship and how one-sided it has felt. And don't get me wrong, I agree with Osprey because he's not necessarily wrong. But I do think it's a little bit AEW glasses. Like you're looking at it through AEW glasses to kind of make it seem like okay, but look at who we're giving. Because he said stuff like, "Oh, well, AEW has given you Omega for Wrestle Kingdom." Woo, woo, woo. Yeah, but these are one-off matches that don't hold a lot. It's not like you're giving them talent that they can tell 6 months to a year storylines with. Usually, AEW usually give you someone that you can use for a tournament, giving you someone that you can use, for a few months. Now, Takeshita may be your best argument because I do think that's a great argument for a pro like AEW thing. But even that was altered and had to be. He couldn't make a lot of tours even as IWGP World Champion. So I think the argument a lot of people have made from a certain side of it is how beneficial is the how serious do AEW take the partnership, vice versa, and do you only really notice that you have a New Japan partnership when you need a world champion like Suji for Forbidden Door. Now, again, I'm not saying he's right or wrong. I think it's his right if he don't want to wrestle for AEW. I mean, who's supposed to make him do it? I think that makes sense to me. But I do understand the sentiment that a lot of people had, and I also understand with like Goto and other people who feel like Suji at the end of the day, because you are the IWGP Heavyweight Champion, if New Japan's Lion is going to be on the promo of a show like Forbidden Door, the world champion should be there. So I don't have a problem with any of the sentiments of it. I do think it's an interesting conversation, but I think to me it just speaks volumes about what I've been saying for years about I'm not the fan. New Japan diehard fans and Day One fans are not the only one who think that they've been kind of getting slighted, and it kind of goes back to also kind of stuff that Tai Chi is hinting at, where people can leave and make the money they want to make in AEW, but still try to act and come back and talk about love in New Japan, but not being there for New Japan talent and New Japan promotion on a day-to-day basis. So I think some talent in New Japan feel some type of way about the relationship, and who are we who are not in this situation to actually be able to speak on it? Because I saw a lot of fans who had something to say about what he had to say, as if like y'all are in these locker rooms. Like I think it's an interesting conversation nonetheless, but I just think this is why, James, again, I'm not justifying why WWE do it, but I do think if WWE wants a picture perfect argument for why they've been so stubborn and they suck at working with partnerships and promotions, this is the poster board example of why they claim they wouldn't why WWE work so hard to not work with other promotions. I'm not trying to say it's a good thing that they do that. I'm just saying these are some of the pain because what do we talk about all the time, James? When has it ever not had stuff like this where politics or feelings come into play like that? Like it always kind of turns this way depending on how you look at it. And I don't care what anybody says. I think a lot of that stems from losing Okada. Maybe if Okada is still there and the number one guy there, and New Japan don't feel like they've just lost so much in such a short amount of time. I don't think maybe they feel people like Suji or like I don't think the sentiment is still the same. But I do think when you add on to watching a lot of New Japan homegrown talent go to AEW, and then we got to act like this partnership that we're still on even terms, and then you got different every year around you see AEW fans talking about well who's even on New Japan that's worthy of battling with AEW guys, and it's just like I can see how New Japan people can look at that and be like well, hold on. Half of your roster is our talent. So again, it's weird. It's very, very weird. But again, I don't. I think he's justified in it, but I also think it would have been nice if he was there.
Yeah, right. I mean, because that's the thing, isn't it? You know, like we talk about, it is Suji's decision so to speak. But I mean, hey, Jax, this is the thing with the Forbidden Door. Has this catch up on New Japan helped us at all with the pay per view between New Japan and AEW? And I would say probably not.
No,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like it's actively working against it. That just does a negativity to their own promotion, let alone, AEW. But it just like it's not a good look for someone who is at the sort of like the top of the division in that regard, to kind of not be looking to sort of mix in and be amicable in this sort of situation. So it just makes things more difficult, especially with what Monty brought up with, Takeshita. They've had positive stuff when it comes to working with them. It doesn't always work out, but I don't think that there needs to be this viciousness that Suji seems to come off. It feels like he's like been deeply like personally hurt by AEW as a company. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And
He's kind
Gina,
of
I mean,
taking it like kind of like a personal attack against him. And I don't think it's that at all. I think it's exactly what Monty says. It's like is a business, is a promotion, and this is something like with Forbidden Door, it is something to actually bring more American viewers to sort of New Japan viewership, but it's not necessarily like a big crossover program. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, they would
yeah.
actually represent it as like AEW X New Japan.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I mean, Gina, again, we got the Forbidden Door. Should the Forbidden Door concept kind of be scrapped? And if they want to do kind of AEW New Japan stuff, we've kind of got it with Newman and Osprey and, like you said, the Gabe Kid and stuff, and just leave it like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like one or the other now. They need to make a decision whether this is working or not and follow it through.
Yeah, I would agree. So finally, Monty, what are your thoughts on New Japan? We have covered the three big events the past few months, and
yeah.
I'm laughing because I know where New Japan's going to go. But I mean, what are your thoughts right now on what we've talked
Yeah,
about?
yeah, we go exactly. I don't know, man. I think New Japan is okay space. Like I'm excited for the G1, because I know the wrestling is gonna be there, and I think that's kind of like one of those things where it's like if it's one thing I can still count on them for is giving me the emotion and the athleticism and the in ring stuff is always there. The booking decisions, the storylines, all the time for every single person on the roster is nowhere near where it was like in again at its peak. But as far as wrestling goes, I still think they're putting on some of the best wrestling in the world, bar none. I think that's the reason why, if you want to go back to like AEW, I think that's why AEW tries to maintain this relationship, because they know New Japan's quality of wrestling is on par or at least around that level of what AEW is and wants to be. And I just think again, I think New Japan is in a pretty good spot, especially with Suji leading the charge and even having somebody like Newman. Like I said, I meant what I said about him being a world champion kind of changes how he's going to be looked at now. Like he's not just a 23-year-old kid, who you're waiting on the potential. He has champion by his name, and whenever he heals up, I'm not sure if he's going to be cleared for the G1 or if that's already been confirmed. He probably is, but if not, again, I think the expectations are going to follow him now because of what he accomplished during kind of like what we been talking about on these episodes. But I think now too for Suji, like now is all right. You're on your second reign. Are you going to dominate? Are we going to take this belt to a Wrestle Kingdom? Is this going to be a situation where the G1 winner get a shot before Wrestle Kingdom again? They've been doing that recently. It'll be interesting to see what changes. We got so many twists and turns in New Japan. But I think overall they're in a okay. They're definitely in a better spot than they were. It's still problems. There's still some inconsistencies. There's still people that you would like to see featured more or featured better. And I don't necessarily disagree there at all. But I do think in this very moment with Suji leading the charge, and like I do want to, and I also want to say with him leading the charge because I don't care right now. You can't really make an argument that anybody other than Suji will be the face of New Japan for the next 5 to 10, maybe, possibly. Now, is that going to mean something in the relationship with AEW? Will that relationship, will he continue to grow? Because Tony Khan always tried to maintain that he's a big fan of Suji, and he's already invited him over there before, so he likes Suji. Suji just don't like them, which is kind of very interesting to me that he really see. He obviously don't really like AEW. I don't know exactly. He hasn't been all the way as detailed about the exact reasons why. I just think he don't think this partnership is beneficial, and it'd be nice to see if he is supposed to be that guy, the number one guy, the face of this of the line going forward. How, what will that look like, and does that make a decision down the line where will you make a change and go heavy towards Shota Umino because we know he'll be more agreeable in these type of situations because he have a great relationship with people in AEW or vice versa. It'd be interesting to see how that develops if that ends up developing that way or not. And like you mentioned earlier, with the new ownership, does that change anything? Do we lose more talent because we run into even cheaper staff, or do we have a staff that's willing to go pay and be active on these free agent markets like AEW is when people's contract come up? It'd be interesting to see what happens and if that changes or what direction we're going. It's real interesting next few months, and especially going up towards Wrestle Kingdom. Obviously the G1 is gonna be great, but leading up towards Wrestle Kingdom, I'm excited to see what's next.
Yeah, without a doubt. So that is it for now. Like we said, up next is the G1 Climax 36. But we'll leave it there. Don't forget, because all social media, X at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNR Pod. James, you can find the entire WNR team on the banner. Jackson, where can people find and follow you?
I'm on Twitch and X at Jaxie Scarlett.
Monty?
At mine Monty Pod on Twitter.
And of course, Gina.
I'm on Twitter and Twitch at Purple Pain.
And the double also on Facebook and Instagram. Send us an email at podcast@gmail.com and YouTube podcast where we're celebrating 11 years of the WNR. And I'm completing, I don't want to sound old here, but I'm completing Sonic the Hedgehog. All right. And I'm doing it perfectly as well. Like, no lost rings, no nothing like that. Honestly, go check out on YouTube. Podcast live on YouTube, also on SoundCloud, on your phone, also Spotify and iTunes. But you can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. So that is it. Our next episode is next weekend. It is the Forbidden Door. But until then, I'll be James Rowlands and was joined by the fantastic Jackson Scarlett. Thanks for joining me, Jax.
Always fun catching up. So yeah, interesting to actually follow up with Forbidden Door next week. So we'll see how that goes.
And of course, the mind of Monty. Thank you for joining me, Monty.
I love you, yo.
And of course, the genius of Gina. I'm sure you enjoyed yourself, G.
I definitely enjoyed myself. I also love you, yo.
Oh, you love me or no? That's right. Fine. Yeah, no, that's right. Thanks for listening, everybody, and bye.